Welcome to the first podcast, everyone. Episode. We don't have a name yet, but we have Umar.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. So, Umar, we had a couple of questions for you. First of all, how was your day?
Honestly, I had a really long day. Super hectic, super long day. I'm supposed to travel tomorrow. Don't want to say where, but I'm supposed to go out of the country for a bit. So, have a flight in about 10 hours from now. Yeah. So, pretty hectic day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just for reference, everyone, it is currently
11:32 p.m.
11:32. My watch doesn't have the correct time. But so mainly, I just want to take a deep dive into your trading, just a deep dive overall into everything, you've not so accomplished. I wanted to, ask some of the rougher questions, ask some things that, I've been very curious about and, throughout your journey. And today we're getting some time to talk. Just want to make sure everything's good. So, Umar, first question I had for you, and I really want you to, be super in depth with this. One of the main, when I first found you was very early 2020, right? Even a little before that, but mainly when I started trading heavily was 2020. And I remember this big short position you had.
Yep.
And I remember it ended up being one of the biggest losses I've ever seen. And honestly, when I was, naive, I thought it was a fake loss. It was around $500,000. For a lot of people, that's not a big, that's a huge number. And, they can't really fathom that, especially making that. Now imagine losing that, right? So I wanted to really just ask, how was it, building up that position? Because over time, you probably built that position up. And how did you have a chance to get out? Did you have a chance to, get out for profit? What really led you, and what were the mistakes, or if there was any mistakes that you made when it came to that $500,000 loss?
So I remember this very vividly. This was 2020, beginning of 2020. I just moved to Miami. A lot of things were happening in my life at the point. I also just had my first $1 million month in February. So I start off, I forgot what January was, but February was my first $1 million month. I ended up making $1 million on trading that month. Going into March, I now carry over this, huge month. Oh man, I made $1 million this month. And now once I had that $1 million month, I start targeting trying to make $10 million for the year. Mm-hmm. So those two things start anchoring my whole trading. Hey, I want to make $10 million. I just had $1 million. How do I go and make this X amount? So now mentally, I start looking for different opportunities. So I was shorting SPY at the time, almost every day on the open, just hammering the short, because, the whole Corona stuff was going on. And then at one point, I was like, you know what? I think it's going to go lower. So I was able to kind of convince myself that that position was right and it's going to go a lot lower. So I ended up adding more and more and more. And the crazy part is my first position, I didn't go in with the full 500. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like 150K, another 100, another 100. And next thing you know, my cost base is around 500 something, like 510 it was exact. And even with how much I was up at a point, because I was up on the position at a point, I lost maybe with unrealized gains and stuff, maybe like 800-900. Mm-hmm. That wasn't my money, but 510 on a cost basis. And ultimately it was because, I was biased, right? And the market did, in my opinion, at that moment look good for a short. But when the Fed stepped in, right, I wasn't able to grasp the whole concept and realize what was actually happening in the market. And when I got confused at the exact moment, and I should have taken a step to the side and maybe took off half or maybe closed my position and taken a 30-40% loss, I was like, no, I'm right. I have to be right. And also I think there's a social pressure that comes with it where once you put something out on social media and people are like, oh, no, you're going to be wrong. You go, screw it, let me add more. Mm-hmm. No, I'm going to double down on my position, right? So it's the same thing as when you get into an argument with someone, and even if you're wrong, you're like, shit, I look stupid. Yeah. I can't look wrong, so you double down on it. Mm-hmm. So essentially that loss happened. Weirdly, I'll say it's kind of like the best thing that happened for my trading career, if you want to call it, because it kind of helped me dig deeper into myself, learning about myself, learning, my red flags mentally, my barriers that, messed me up as a trader. And that ultimately allowed me to have my biggest year the year after, mm-hmm. right? So in a way, it was a good thing looking back at it now. But if I never had a good year after, it would have still been like the worst thing.
Yeah, I remember when I had my first $1 million month.
I mean, listen, man, one day at a time, right?
Yeah. No, so you said unrealized 800, 900K.
Yeah.
So he wasn't talking $800, $900. It was, in the hundred thousands. So at that point, you were up. If I do the math, 500 something. You were up like 300-400ish thousand at one point.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, when you were up that amount, what led you to keep holding? Because at that point, you're right. The social media, I get, the social pressures. At that point, you're right. Were you aiming for a specific number? Did you have a number in mind?
I was aiming for a number. I was trying to 8x to 10x that at 500, right? Yeah. And that's what I tell traders all the time. If you are in a position, don't try to aim to make a certain number, right? So if I didn't have an aim on that number, once I saw my position get to it, forget what my position went to. Once I saw the market shift, I should have adjusted to that. I shouldn't have been, well, let me make $1 million on this trade, or let me make $500,000 on the trade. I would have looked at it, which is the way I look at it now, from a more objective way. Well, the market's shifting. I'm unsure what's going on. And the right thing for me to do right now is get out of my position, opposed to holding this position and trying to make that number or hit that target, right? And that was my ultimate downfall. And then when I saw 300-400K unrealized profit, now when I'm down 200, I'm like, oh, man, I was up 400. I should have taken the 4. Now when I'm break even, oh, man, I should have at least make money on this. Now when I'm down 100, well, I want to break even. So you keep going down that rabbit hole, and next thing you know, with options, you're expiring worthless. So now it's like I'll take 100. Yeah. I'll take whatever at this point,
So the main thing, when you saw at that time, I remember I was very big into shorting too. Every single day, wake up, puts, hold till end of day, sell, repeat every single day, and it was working. And then the market started going up. They're like, oh, the Fed's stepping in. I didn't know what the Fed was. I didn't know what they were capable of. At least even till now, I don't. It's crazy what they're capable of with the markets. At that point, I remember I was, I had a hard time grasping like they can just buy and print money and then keep sending. I was like, oh, maybe a week. When you see it happen for 2-3 weeks, that's when at first. Yeah. That's when I got completely blown out the water. So I understand that, but at the same time, after you lost that 500K. Did you ever think about what if I had that 500K long? Because
I did, and it's funny because, so going back to that and touching on that again is, when I was going into that position, right, I also wanted to kind of hedge my position, and I was like, yo, I'm shorting the market. I'm shorting at a lower point now. Instead of shorting here, why not put $100,000 into a long call? They were dirt cheap, right? Just to hedge my position where if this does bounce up hard, right, I'll at least make my money back. And that did cross my mind at that exact moment, but I was like, you know what? No, it's not gonna go up. There's no way it's gonna go up. And never took that position.
Because at that point, when you think about hedging, at least me, I don't really go heavy enough to where I have to hedge my positions like that. But you're thinking, you're like, all right, if I end up making $1 million on this position, I'm only gonna make 900K. And it's like that starts to bounce in. So at that point, you're just like, oh, but if you would, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But at that time, I know for sure after you took that loss, there was probably some days where you're like, just going to bed, you're like, if I had that 500K long, that you would have hit that 3.4 mil goal.
Yeah. I think that bias, too, comes from how you were saying earlier, the previous month, how you did really, really well. That's happened to me a few times before. Like even recently where you do really good like 1 week or 1 month and you go into the next month and you take a trade like that and you're just so like the ego, right, carries over from the previous month and the overconfidence. So it's just like you just can't switch your bias up, Yeah,
no, it's really hard. Mentally being able to realize how you're thinking in real time sometimes is extremely hard. I tell traders all the time, like one of our biggest downfalls in the current moment, especially when you're trading, it's very high paced, right? So in a high paced environment, knowing what your thought process is, knowing how you think, what you think, how you're going to react to the way you think is a mind fuck, right? So it happens to me sometimes too, where I go into days where I'm extremely biased. Like that's one of my problems. I know that. I get very biased and very convincing of the direction I think the market's going to go in. So it's identifying, hey, what are my problems? And the problems I have are going to be different than the problems you have or problems you have and so on. But it's understanding what are my problems and then understanding how do I not solve them, because there's some things I think in trading, and that's what I also learned from that, is you can't and won't solve problems that you have internally because they go so like deep into you. You have to learn how to work with them, especially when they pop up, right? I think the mistake a lot of traders make is, hey, I have a problem. I want to fix it. I'm like, naturally, if you have a very deep-rooted problem, you can't fix it, but you can create an environment or a system or a structure that helps you kind of, disable it, right, for that current moment. And that's what, in the moment I wasn't able to do. And so much, like you said, the bias aspect, I was biased, and I was like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm on top of the world. I feel so great about making X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do it again. And that biasness just, accelerates. But now when I'm biased, a lot of times, and there's days I think 2 weeks ago, I took a position. I lost money on it. I was biased. The market rode up. I was biased with the idea market's going to go lower. Lost money. But now when that happens, I'm able to readjust myself the next day or next week and say, okay, how do I pick myself back up? How do I make sure I'm good? How do I make sure I'm locked in, just so it doesn't carry over to the next day or week,
So, that's one thing a lot of new traders, and, doesn't just have to be new traders, yourself included, myself included. When you have those hot streaks you go, and it just feels like everything's just hitting. I know that $1 million month for you, it was just like anything you touched was just working. You touch puts, they work. You touch calls, whatever it is, everything just works. So when you have that one stubborn play where it's just not working, it's sort of like, obviously, you have the social pressure as well, where everyone's like, yo, Umar's on a hot streak, he's hitting. And then at the same time, you have yourself where it's like, yo, I'm the man. I'm making every trade where everything's, at that time, you're on top of the world, like you said. And then you have that one trade that just really tests you. And that's where, you figure either that could have gone two ways for you, right? That could have been the end of your trading career. That could have been, the end of Umar Ashraf, like, a day trader. And you could have, you still were up $500,000 if you take away, net gain that, those 2 months. You could have gone and done other things. But, the one thing I really respect about you is not a lot of people could take a $500,000 gain or loss after coming off from a really, really big win, right? Coming off a big win and having a slower month. You're one thing I really admire is you're able to take that slower month, use it as a learning experience, and then come back every single time. That sort of segues into the next thing I want to talk about. You had a really good year in 2021.
Yeah.
Right? And then last year, you had a very slow year.
Yeah.
You only made $1 million. What are you doing?
Yeah. I know, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah. So do you see any sort of resemblance? Like, I just want to really take a deep dive into that 7 million year, the 1 million, and just how coming off a really hot year, moving into a very slow year, how that sort of shifts into 2023 and your game plan for this year, next year, and the year after. Because we've seen you do it once, we've seen you do it multiple times, right? Where you have a really good month or a really good year, you slow down, and then you pick it back up. First of all, I want to break down your $7 million year. I remember I was watching you. That's when I first started, that's when you first noticed me on Twitter in 2021 summer. I remember right out, and I think it was the fall, Affirm. Every single month, $1 million month, $1 million month, $1 million month. And it was the craziest thing I ever seen because I saw Affirm, right? I'd look at the chart, just up and up and up. I think it was some Amazon deal, right? They had. So break down your $7 million year. What were some of, thoughts leading up to it after, 2020, you had the big $500,000 loss coming into your biggest year, $7 million. And then how did you take that $500,000 loss? How were you able to take that social pressure from, a negative and turn it into a positive and boost yourself off from that?
Yeah. So first, when I took that big loss, I took some time off. I think that year, I don't remember what it was. I think maybe close to like $2 million in year-to-date profits for 2020 it was, I think. Right. My main focus when I lost money, by the way, was to build my confidence back up. Right. Because at that moment, and I've said this before too, I did lose a lot of confidence. And mentally, I did go in a rut because I shorted Tesla after. I shorted Zillow after. Basically, everything I touched, even after that SPY short for like 6 weeks, I lost money. Anything I touched. I mean, whatever it is. When I was shorting, market's going up. When I'm going long, market's dumping. I'm like, bro, what? Like, and mentally you go, have I been getting lucky the past couple of years? Like, you get into that phase. You're like, is my run over? And at that moment, I was like, I need a break. Right? I need a really, really good break from the market. I stepped away, and I just, came back with a fresh mind, fresh everything, and just kind of putting myself in perspective where, hey, I need to trade as even though I think I'm always a student, but I need to go back into like the classroom and act like I know nothing and start from the beginning. So that's what I did, and that helped me build my confidence, cut down a lot of setups, cut down a lot of things I was doing before, because market is also shifting now, right? Because the market, you have to adapt to the market. So I started adapting to the market, adapting to, the current environment, current everything that's going on. And that allowed me to build my confidence. Once I built my confidence, now I'm going into 2021 with a strong level of confidence, right? Seeing that strong level of confidence, I'm able to get like, okay, what is going on? What's actually bringing this confidence level that I have higher? What are the setups that are working? So I was able to go into 2021 with a lot more, I guess, confidence, a lot more, understanding of the market, the shift of the market. I was able to, remove the biasness. I was able to recoup, I guess, that money. Not that that's what I was trying to do. So my comfortability level to take more risk and to take more size and be more aggressive built up. So I could go in some trades and put on risk of 30, 40K, right? And I tell traders like, hey, you see me make 100K. I would love to say I risked $500 to make that and sound cool, but no, I put on a 30, 40K risk on that trade, right? And because people go, I want to make 100K. I was like, yeah, well, if you're wrong, are you willing to lose 40K if you're wrong? They're like, no. I was like, okay, so you're not ready to make, and not to say you have to put on that risk, right? There's people that risk 10K and they'll make 100, but those trades aren't presenting consistently. So it's finding that, I guess, edge or what works for you, what doesn't work for you type of thing. So yeah, that was ultimately it. Just, I guess, having that comfortability, reading the market, even the firm trade. Like if you really go back to 2021, I started getting hot in 2021 around the summertime. I was showing up every single day that year. That year was the year like I was at the market every day in front of my desk, ready to take on the markets, being selective on trades I wanted to take, being selective on when I want to be aggressive and whatnot. And I think what really gave me momentum was a firm trade. I traded it well for 2 months nonstop. Was able to, I think, on a firm make over $1 million. Once I was able to do that, started hitting more size and more trades, gotten comfortable. I think at that point I used to trade like the morning bounce. We would see a bounce, identify key levels, identify those key levels with strength, just hammer that over and over and over again. And then once I started hitting it, put it on 50K risk, 40K risk, making 150, making 120, 110, and doing it not once, twice in the same day. And now I'm like, hey, like this is working. And then when you go to 2022, now things kind of shifted, but also with 2022, being honest, and I guess people, I didn't really trade much. But I also want to say this, right? Because I don't want to, I don't like to say, well, if I traded more in 2022, I would have made more. Well, there's another part of me that's like, maybe I got lucky in 2022 that I was off half the year because the market did shift. Market did get harder, in my opinion. For some people, not. Some people, yeah. So I'm like, maybe I got lucky. Maybe the fact that I took time off, right? I got lucky. I ended up having a 1.4, whatever, $1.5 million a year. Maybe I would have had a negative year. Who knows? So I have to look at both perspectives and weigh them in. But it was a big shift in the market.
Yeah. And just with, you were speaking, just about building your confidence back up. You'll see a lot of times, just like you have your, people have hot streaks where they're consistently hammering green trades over and over and over again. Once you have that sort of shift where you start losing money, you'll see oftentimes, it's not just one trade and then you come back. It's going to take a little while, like you mentioned on Tesla and Zillow. Obviously, it's going to take some time to come back. And the fact that you were able to build that consistency or, that confidence back up and then be able to hammer consistent setups, that's one thing I really wanted, to dive into as well. Just speaking about just the setups you take, because it's a very interesting approach. Like if you watch your YouTube breakdowns, it's the same setup almost every single day. In 2021, you mentioned it was the morning bounce. As of recent, it's been the morning top reversal, things like that. You're a big morning trader. And what really I admire is how you're able to find one setup that works for you and then how you're able to hammer that consistently over and over and over again. Like you mentioned that on a firm, you were hammering a firm for $1 million. Like I don't remember how many times, you're hammering the same setup every single day. And at that point, I think people don't realize the markets aren't engineered. The markets are engineered in a way where it's not, where when something is consistently happening or something is, perfect in the markets, when you see something in the market that seems too good to be true, it's there for a purpose, right? Yeah. And I feel like you're really good at identifying things like that, like, morning bounces and coming like a gap down with a move higher with low volume. And sell orders, you're able to hammer those down very consistent. And it's just not like, you're putting on, 30, 40K risk at that time you mentioned, then 50, 60K risk. I also want to dive into that too, where, I was, when you mentioned 30, 40K risk, a lot of people, probably think you're entering with $30,000, $40,000. When he says 30, 40, 50, 60K risk, he's in a position size. He's willing to lose 30, 40, to 60K, whatever it is, in order to make 100, 120. And, you know, if you're willing to lose 60K and you're looking to make 120, that's too hard trade. We'll dive more, you know, into detail into, you know, risk to reward afterwards as well. But how are you able to identify certain patterns in the market that you're consistently able to repeat over and over and over and hammer consistently?
It's a good question. So one thing that I've I don't want to say figured out, but one thing I've realized about the market, and you guys probably see it too, is that out of 20 trading days a month, on average, we have about 20 trading days, up or down a few. The market will give you 4 or 5 good trading days, right? Some months more, some months less, right? My thing is, I don't want to show up every single day, right, and make a little bit of money every single day and be on that level of consistency. My thing is, I want to be there when the big days happen, the big moves happen, my setups happen, and I want to execute those setups, right? So that requires you to have patience. That requires you to sit on your hands. That requires you to show up to the market and be like, okay, there's nothing today. I sat here for 3 hours. I didn't make $1, but I'm cool with it. Why? Because my mental capacity is important to me, and my financial capacity is important to me. Because now, if I go tomorrow, and let's say tomorrow there's no setup, and I blow 10K, 20K. Now, not only did I lose 10, 20K, but I also destroyed my mental confidence. Right, so now the next day when there is a setup, I'm not going to execute it because I lost a 20. I'm scared. I'm hesitant. So I destroyed the good trading day because I took a bad trade on a bad trading day, right? So for me, it's a lot of times just being selective, being patient. Even days I miss a trade, I'm like, it's okay. Like yesterday, we gapped down, rejected, had a good morning top reversal, saw heavy rejection on the order flow, and I didn't take the position. I saw it dump right in front of my eyes. I wanted to get the short the whole time, and I'm like, you know, I missed it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I need to put in perspective that I'm trying to be here for 10, 20, 30 years. I'm not trying to be here for a month, right? I don't have to make $1 million this week. I don't have to make $1 million this month. I don't have to make $1 million this year, but I have to be profitable for the whole decade. I have to be alive the whole decade. That's kind of the ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. So that helps me be patient. That helps me, I guess, look at this from a longer term aspect. Because I see all the time new traders come into the market, right? And, you know, they trade like they have 30 days left to trade. Mm-hmm. They put on crazy risk. They're trading when there's nothing going on. There's some market event happening. Market's waiting for CPI data or market's waiting for Feds to talk. And these guys are putting on trades. I'm like, what do you see in the market? Nothing. So what trade are you trying to put on, right? But they're trying to rush and take shortcuts and make money every day and hit these targets. But for me, it's not that. It's, hey, if the market presents an opportunity and I'm ready for it, I'll take advantage. Mm-hmm. Now, if the market, I think, doesn't present an opportunity, it's okay. Even if it doesn't present an opportunity for 2 months, 2 weeks. Sometimes it may present an opportunity and I might have hesitation.
Might even be 6 months.
It's, yeah, right? Sometimes that may happen too. And I think I've just gotten really comfortable and confident, I guess, in just, you know, relaxing. Right, where when I was trading in year 3 or year 4, I hated weekends. I was like, oh my God, market's closed. Oh my God, we have a long weekend. Oh man, Monday market's closed. What am I gonna do? Oh my God. Now I'm like, thank God we have a long weekend. Oh my God, I can't wait to not like wake up and be crazy for the market and all that, you know?
Yeah, I mean sometimes like this weekend we just had a 3-day weekend weekend, and Key was here, and I remember I was like, man, I'm glad we have a 3-day weekend. I get to relax. He looks at me and he's like, you're only saying that because everyone else is saying that. I'm like, that's true. I can't wait for Tuesday.
I can't wait till Tuesday, right?
Because I'm trying to convince myself, like, yo, time away from the market is important. He looked at me dead in the eyes and like, you stop lying to yourself.
No, bro, I see it happen all the time. And I tell people, you have a whole life outside of the market. The market's cool, right? But I understand people have this passion for the market, and especially when you get in. And I had the same passion. I still have somewhat of a passion, but it's not the same. The passion is a tool, right? The market is a tool, right? It's a tool for you to make money. That's ultimately it. You know, your job is to control the market in terms of controlling yourself. You can't let the market control you, right? You can't go and have a red day and be depressed the whole day. You can't have a green day and be super happy, right? So same thing with the market. You can't let it control your personal life. There's more to life than that. That's why I have a hard cutoff at 11 a.m. I'm done. Most of my trades you won't see after 11 a.m. Not because I think there's less opportunities, which I do think so, but because I have a life outside of it. My thing is make money on the first hour and a half and be done. Like I'm not trying to sit here until 4 p.m. And that's what I used to do in the beginning. I used to be in front of my computer till 4 p.m. every single day, nonstop. And I'm like, holy shit, like I had a flat day for what? 8 hours of just up and down, all 8 hours for apparently nothing. You know what I mean?
And sometimes what'll end up happening is, people will make, and I'm pretty sure you've probably experienced this too, make like, when you're starting out, a couple $100 in the morning, throughout the day, you'll see them set up during lunchtime. You'll take it. Next thing you know, instead of being up $500, you're up $200. Then you want to get back. You're like, oh, let me get back to where I was. I'll be happy with a 500. The second that starts to happen, and I notice myself do this a lot too. Even now, I'll admit it. I'll be up, say I'll be up $2,000. I'll take a trade. I'll only be up 1.3K. Then I'm like, once I make $700 more, I'm back at that 2K. I'll call it a day. It's like, why didn't you just call it a day when you're already up 2K? Why did you think, you had to make more money? And it's all perspective too, right? It's all about just understanding you're sitting at home. You're able to, and I hate this terminology, press buttons and make money. But at the end of the day, that's really what it is. And any dollar you make in the market, the way I look at it, every dollar you make in the market is $1 you don't have to make at a 9 to 5, right? You don't have to make somewhere else.
And listen, by the way, I've been speaking. There's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5, and I want to just speak on that a little bit because I think because of like the social media world and entrepreneurship and how it's gotten, people started like shitting on 9 to 5s, and when I was 19, 20, I did the same thing, right? I was like, oh, I would never want to work for anyone. No, but we have to kind of be conscious of that because I don't think there's anything wrong with 9 to 5, right? I don't think there's anything wrong, quote unquote, working for someone, right? I think everyone has their own ideology of what they want. Some people are comfortable with that. Some people aren't. So if you enjoy, quote unquote, a 9 to 5, there's nothing wrong with that. And I just want to kind of be the person to put that out there because I think social media has been talking shit about 9 to 5 so much. I'm like, yo, like there's nothing wrong with that. Don't, people watching, they're like, oh my God, they're talking about 9 to 5s. I have it so bad. No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's people that have 9 to 5s that make tons of money and have a very great life, and their ideology of life is a lot different than people wanting to work 15, 20 hours a day, burn themselves out for something that may or may not work. So if you are in a 9 to 5 and you're happy in your situation and you're happy in whatever, more life to you. If you're not, that's a different case.
Yeah, no, 100%. One of my good friends, he went full-time last year, and this year he was just mentioning, he's like, if I don't make X amount, I'm not going to say number. If I don't make X amount, I'm not going to, keep trading full-time. He's like, it's too much mental strain for at that point. It's like, it's a drop-off. You take, how are you going to manage, you want to make 10K in a day. You also have to lose 10K in a day. And not many people can handle that emotion, especially when that's your income fully. It's, I see, Jadon mentioned it a lot. The goal is to get,
shout out to Jadon, nicest guy, by the way. Shout out to Jadon. Yeah. I want to say that he's a nice guy. But by the way, I called him on the way here. I think he's going on like he's disconnecting. But yo, really really nice guy. Want to give him I'm giving him a shout out, bro. He's the man.
I love Jadon. Yeah, but he mentions he's like, when you're trading, he's like, you want a job, and then you can have like trading pay your bills. You can have trading pay your car note. And for some people, that's the dream.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
So Jadon, he also mentions this a lot on his Twitter. I love Jadon, by the way, right? He's always saying the jackpot is, for an average person, or not even average. There's people who don't want a full-time trade. You'll reach out to people, they don't want a full-time trade. They like trading, they like, they treat it as a hobby, and it can make you money, right? But Jadon always mentions, he's like, for some people, the jackpot is work your 9 to 5, make some money in the morning, use that to buy cool stuff, buy groceries. For some people, that's great. And, like you mentioned, even with school, I see that a lot with school as well, where people talk down on school like, oh, fuck college, fuck jobs, all that. I also think, school is very relative, just as like a 9 to 5 is very relative too. Both are. The reason they've been around for so long is because it works. People always like, oh, you're stuck in the matrix. You're doing this. At the end of the day, you could consider it being stuck in the matrix, or you could consider it a way that, people have been using for a while. So, to get a job, to be able to make money. So for me, when people say fuck a 9 to 5, fuck, school, I think of the same thing you just said. It's not everyone wants to be a full-time day trader. Not everyone can be a full-time day trader too. Yeah. It's a lot of mental strain. Just like you mentioned, like when you take these long breaks, and Jadon's taking a break too. He just made $300K. you're taking, you know, a vacation, you took a break last year, break, you know, for, you know, amount of time. It's like, it's not that you don't want to make money. It's just, is that money worth more than my mental capacity? And the answer is no. Every single time you have to put your mental above, because if your mental is not in a good state, your trading is not going to be in a good state either.
No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So I think taking those breaks and things are very essential. Also, talking about the college aspect, just to go a little bit off trading, I used to have a different opinion on college. I think when I was younger, from being younger till now, and I just turned 28. So when I was 21, 20, 19, I was like, college is a scam. College is bullshit. Anyone that goes to college is stupid. I was arrogant, right? That was me, like just saying that all the time. As I got older, my opinion on it shifted. I think college is needed for certain people. Now, when I say college, I don't mean go and put yourself in tons of debt and, you know, put yourself in the worst situation and go for not something you want to do or not having any sort of career. I mean, you go to a decent college, you're not paying tons in, you know, college tuition and so on. You're not putting yourself in crazy amounts of debt. But I think college offers a benefit that a lot of people need, which is it gives you structure, right? It gives you structure throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month, because now you have classes at a certain time, you have to be at a certain time, right? I also think it puts you in a place to socialize. It puts you in a place to speak to other people, right? I think when you take college out from a majority of people, they have no place to socialize. They have no place to meet people. They have no human interaction, right? They don't have a structure in their day. They wake up at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. because they don't have anything going on now. So I think for a majority of people, they need that structure to build off to go into kind of the next stage, right? Now, if you're someone that doesn't need structure, you're someone that can't socialize, can't put yourself out there, and you kind of have an idea on what you want to do, then then at that point, you don't need college. That's, once again, my opinion. But now it also depends what you're going for. If you're going for business, why business, right? What are you trying to do with the business degree, right? What college are you going to? Are you going to like a top-notch college where you're going to meet a lot of great people and be able to make connections and things like that? So I think I have a different opinion on it now. I'm not 100% against it. I think it depends on a case-to-case basis. And I think depending on who's ever case, you need to see like, hey, do I need a structure? Do I need these things in my life? And sometimes it doesn't hurt, especially if you're getting a scholarship and it's getting paid for. Why not, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's this one instance where someone DM'd me and they were like, Shinobi, I have a test, but I'm in your webinar right now. I'm like, bro, the webinar's recorded. Go to class, bro. I'm like, go to class, because at the end of the day, you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 for that class. If you're going to be in college, and I see a lot of traders, you know, they'll have a $1,000 day, or, you know, they'll have a good day, and they instantly just Lambo, Rolex, APs, and they want everything at that point, and they're like, oh, I'm breaking out. Guys, if you're in college and, you know, you're paying for the class and you're paying full and you're still making a trade, there's a whole, pay attention to school, please.
Yeah, there's a whole different component of it. I agree with that.
And if you're going to try trade in school, and obviously this is, you know, what I did, you know, what I do as well, you know, with college, structure your classes outside of the market hours that you trade in. So for me, last year, what I did when I was trading the mornings, I had a cutoff time at 11, and I knew I couldn't stop myself, and this is how I kind of built discipline as well. My class was at 11:30. I had to leave my house at 11 to get to college at 11:30. I was not able to trade, right? So structure it and use it to your advantage as well, right? You can have people, you can find people of similar interests, like you said, especially if, you know, you can meet people who are like-minded. You can meet people, you know, who want the same thing as you. It's a great place, right? Yeah. But at the same time, you know, it's very relative. If you're doing well trading, if you have a business, if you deep down feel like you don't need it and you can make things work without it, then that's up to you. But I'm not going to be one to say, you know, fuck college or all that. It's different for everyone, right? Just with the 9-to-5 stuff. And what, you know, just bouncing off, college and 9-to-5s and balancing all that. How do you balance, you know, your personal life with like trading? How are you able to balance, like, for me personally, like if I lose, I remember there's this day I lost 11K. The whole day, like my mom comes up to me. She's like, how much did you lose? I'm like, how do you know I lost money? She's like, I can tell from your face. Because when I remember I told you this too. I was like, when I lose a lot of money or if I make a lot of money,
you can probably
it affects my entire day, right? So how are you able to sort of detach trading, like work life from personal life? How are you able to Like if you, you know, make $120,000, the grass is greener, sky's bluer, it's a sunny day, you're down 30, 40K, your risk hit. How do you stop that from like kind of just spewing out into your day? Because I feel like a lot of traders, and myself included, I want to hear this as well. How are you able to just, you know, detach everything? Because I really don't want to, you know, have a bad day in the markets and that, you know, put me in a negative mood and, you know, put everyone around me in a negative mood as well.
Listen, I would love to say do X, Y, and Z and it would help, but I also like to give context on situations, right? So in my situation, I think the context here is because I've had multiple green years back to back to back to back. Like I think for the past 6 years, I've been profitable every year, at the 7 or whatever it is now. I understand, like I've been in the game long enough to understand the losses happen, and I understand long enough that if I stay alive, I will walk out green essentially, right? And I've also learned to understand that it's part of the game, and because I've had green months and green years and so on, I'm essentially up, if that makes sense, right? So I think for most people, when you're in that stage of you're still red for the year or past 2 years or since you've started, the loss hurts steeper because now your drawdown, instead of it being 40K, now it's 50. Instead of 50, it's 60. Instead of 60, it's 70. It's like, oh my God, I'm down 70K in total now instead of, well, you know, I'm still up $400,000. I took a 30K loss, which sucks, but I'm still okay. That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So in context purposes, that's one thing that does help me. But second, because I've been doing it for a really long time, I've just learned to understand like it's the cost of doing business. Mm-hmm. Like losses in trading is the cost of doing business. Now there's two types of losses in trading. One loss is that I'm trading like an idiot, a maniac. I'm supposed to lose 10K a day, or my stop should be at 10K, but I end up losing 25K because I have no self-control over myself. That loss I get mad at. Mm. But now if I'm expected to lose 10K, 5K if I'm wrong, and I put out the risk, okay, well, that's the cost of me doing business. That's the cost of trading. That's what's going to come with this, right? It's the same thing as, you know, you're running a business, you're going to have certain costs, right? You're going to have to pay for a warehouse or, you know, a store or employees, payroll tax, inventory, whatever the case is, whatever business it is, you're going to have to pay those costs. So trading, as much as we don't want to lose money, it's going to happen because we risk money to make money, right? So, okay, I risked money, I didn't make it this time. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to sort of, like you mentioned, a planned loss, right? And it comes, you know, that ties into journaling and everything like that. When it comes down to just planning a loss or planning wins, you know, it all comes down to our multiple risk to reward. And, you know, I really want to dive into TradeZella as well and just talk about how has that actually helped you as a trader, right? And one of the questions I wanted to ask, but I want to jump to ahead, is do you feel like if you had, you know, if TradeZella was around in 2020, because I remember seeing TradeZella, I forget, you know, late 2020, was that 500K loss one of the reasons you decided to start TradeZella? And because I feel like if you had TradeZella after that 500K loss, you would have been able to bounce back a lot quicker, and, you know, just stuff like that. But also, you know, just coming off that planned loss thing, you know, just to quickly speak on that, and I want Key to speak on it as well. Just having a planned loss, a lot of people, they go into a trade, no plan, right? They don't have an exit plan, and they have, you know, like you mentioned with that 500K trade, they have a number in mind. That used to be me. That's probably been all of us at one point. You know, no matter how good you get, how long you've been trading, you're gonna fuck up somewhere, right?
Of course.
So you have that number in mind. You know, say for you, you know, you're up 600 on the day. You want to make 1,000. You're in a trade, 30%. You're green, and you're at $900. You're at $800. You want to see that comma come into your P&L. Next thing you know, you're down on the position. You held too long. Now, who's there to blame, right? It's yourself. You have no exit plan. You know where you're taking profits. Oh, I want to make 1K on the day. That's, you know, that it's never going to end well. You don't know where you're going to stop loss. You're up 30%. Now you're down 30%. Do I keep holding? Are you going to add more? Next thing you know, it's just a downward spiral from there. And, you know, just to give my own 2 cents, and I want Key to speak on this, having a planned loss is more important than, you know, any amount of charting you could do, any amount of, you know, technical analysis you could do. I feel like a lot of people focus on different things, right? Like TA, for me, I was studying, you know, charts and stuff, and I felt like, oh, what am I missing on my charts? My charts are so good, you know, all they're playing out. why am I still losing money, right? And it all comes down to having a plan, having, your R multiple set, and just having your journals and everything set like that as well. And I really started to see, I'd watch your videos and stuff like that, and I really start to take journaling serious. At the time, it was notebook and paper.
Yeah.
I actually have one of my old ones over there in the other room. It's like you write down everything, and then what you're starting to understand is you're starting to see where you're making a mistake and how you can focus your energy on that one mistake. Like for you on that 500K, you started focusing on one thing. And what was it? You tunnel vision into building your confidence back, and then slowly making that into a consistent, profit. So how would you say journaling has affected your trading over the years? And when did you really start taking journaling serious? And how did you start to see results? And how do you journal? Like, how do you journal, right? Everyone always asks, how do you journal? How do you journal?
I will say this question went in 3 different directions, bro. I don't know what the question was until the end.
I don't even know anymore.
I was like, what's the question until the end? I got it, though.
I had to get everything out.
You're good. So I started journaling about 1.5 years, 2 years in, okay? And journaling was kind of very new to me. And it's funny, when I first journaled, it was just to kind of like, I like keeping track of things, right? If I go to the gym, I want to keep track of it, right? If I start a business, obviously I want to keep track. Like, I just like keeping track of what's going on in every aspect of my life. So I was like, yo, I should start tracking my trades, right? I should start tracking what actually works and what doesn't work, right? So I started journaling, certain things in my trading, such as, Mondays, what am I trading? What's my game plan? What am I looking at for the market? What trades did I take? Why did I take the trades? So then I started being more, I started doing it with more intention, right? And I want to answer one of your questions that you also asked in this 5-minute question, by the way. Mm-hmm. If I had quote unquote TradeZella earlier, would I have been? And the answer to that, and I know it's going to be no. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think there's any tool automatically, anything in the world that exists, even for fitness, working out, same thing, working out, business, anything at all that immediately as a tool impacts your life and makes it better. I think you have to take the tools that are out and intentionally use them to benefit. So going into TradeZella, and I don't want to make it TradeZella, just talking about journaling, right? Going into journaling, if you go into journaling with the intention of doing it properly, you will start picking up patterns. And then if you start identifying those patterns and you start attacking those patterns, you will slowly and surely get better. It's the same thing. If you go to the gym and, last week you can lift 100 pounds. Now you go to 105. You did 10 sets. Now you do 12. Then you start increasing the weight, going down in sets, and you just slowly start tracking that and improving. You start knowing what are your weaknesses and strengths, but you have to do it with intention. Like, you have to be aware of what you're doing. So if I did that, maybe, right, it would have been maybe quicker. So I don't want to say any tool out there will automatically help you, right? But going back to the part of when I started journaling, 1.5 years in, I still have those notebooks till this day, right? They're in my home.
You should auction them.
No, legit. I still have all of them. I remember I was looking at them a couple of weeks ago. There were stocks that don't even exist now that I used to trade at the time, right? Givo, AEZS,
JCPenney,
or JCPenney, right? A lot of different names. And my thing was when I started doing it seriously and I started writing and handwriting everything, I started realizing some patterns with myself. And I've said this before too. Mondays I would lose money. Why am I losing money on Mondays? Oh, I know why I'm losing money on Mondays, because the weekend market's closed, Monday market opens. I'm excited to trade on Monday, and I want to start the week off green. Boom, have a big fat loss. Now the next 4 days, I'm digging myself out of that loss. I'm break even for the week. I'm like, okay, yes, I'm break even. Oh, yo, what the hell did I do the whole thing for? Right? Consistently. So now I'm like, okay, let me be risk off on Mondays. Very small stuff, right? And that's like taking the technical side off. That's like taking the actual trading side off, looking at it from a mental point. Then I would realize. I used to work at the time, right? And even when I would have work, I would be like, okay, well, I have to work, and my job starts at 9. I'm going to take an hour break. And if I take an hour break, I need to make money in this hour, because I'm taking a break from my job. I need to make it from here now. So now when there's no opportunities, guess what I'm doing? I'm putting on trades because I missed an hour there. I need to make it up here, right? So it's like those stupid little things that you start doing, and you're like, what am I doing? And then third thing is, and this goes for everyone. Trading is complicated, but not as complicated as people make it. 99% of the stuff that we see on social media and the way people trade, in my personal opinion, is nonsense. I don't think it works. I don't think it's real. I think people overcomplicate it. And I think that's where you have to kind of understand a few things. You need to understand what you're trading, right? You need to understand what's your edge. Your edge, in my opinion, can't be a RSI MACD crossover. That's just my opinion, right? You can't back test that ever and show me that it works. And if it does, and someone says, that's my strategy, well, I want to see a 5-year P&L, not a month P&L, not a week P&L, right? Those things don't work. They're not, in my opinion, real indications of working. But that also sells, and I understand from a marketing point why people do it, because people are lazy, right? They want an indicator to tell them when to get in, when to get out. Bro, if I had an indicator to tell me when to get in, when to get out, I promise you right now, I'm not going into selling that indicator. I'm starting a hedge fund, and I'm making a ton of money myself. Why would I sell that? Like, just think about that, right? So there's things like that with indicators, with things, and people are just lazy. People just want indicators, and they're like, oh, I need to buy an indicator. Or the MACD, when the MACD crosses and it turns this, or the RSI does this, all I have to do is buy or sell. I'm like, yo, like, you really think that there's hedge funds worth billions and billions of dollars of, capital under management? They're sitting there and they're like, hey, Joe, sell that stock, RSI's. Like, no, bro.
It's like, what, 3 different EMAs cross, the stochastics cross, the MACD's curling, and the RSI's overbought.
It's just not. It just doesn't make sense. What's moving the money? Big money, right? Big money's moving it. You got big institutions moving money. When are they buying? When are they selling? It's an auction, right? The whole market is an auction, so you try to understand the auction, right? Who's aggressive, who's not aggressive. Sometimes the auction is balanced, sometimes it's not. So you understand that. And I think new traders coming in, because all those things are new to them and they want to make essentially quick money, that they go to this crossing this and this doing. And I'll be the first to admit, I used to do that in my early days.
Same.
I'm not going to sit here and say I came into the market knowing I used to
order flow.
If you look at my chart, in 2013, right, or 2014, I probably have a picture in like 2014 maybe, or 2013. I don't know. It's probably on my Instagram. My chart had so much lines where you couldn't even see the price action. I had the 200-day moving average, 50-day moving average, 100-day moving average, 20-day moving average, and 9-day EMA. Then I have the RSI, then I have the ADX, then I have the MACD. And I'm like, well, the RSI is telling me this, but the MACD is telling me that, but the ADX is telling me this. What do I do? And sometimes I would take the trade based off whatever it told me, and it would work. I'm like, okay, it worked. Now, next time I do the same thing, but with more size, right? Now it doesn't work. Right. So it's just an inconsistent, play. And I think most traders that enter, chase that, which I get, and you have to go through that, I guess, burn initially. But all that stuff, in my opinion, it doesn't work. It's not real. And I've never seen it consistently ever work. You know what I mean?
I got really lucky because I started trading when I was 17. So I didn't have a TOS account, so I couldn't get a bunch of free indicators. I had to use TradingView. And they maxed out how many indicators you could use. So I had MACD and RSI. That's all I had. So I wasn't big into the moving averages. Everyone would ask me, why don't you use moving averages? I didn't want to tell them because I didn't want to pay for TradingView at the time. I'd be like, because they suck.
Because they suck.
I feel like everybody's been there, though. Like, as a new trader, it's just part of the journey to, like, figure out your edge. So, like, I was one of the guys that tried everything. I tried it all. Like, my charts probably looked the same as yours, where, like, if something didn't work, it immediately was like, all right, I got to try something new now. It wasn't like I got to figure out how to make it work. So, I don't know where I was going with that. but like that, the thing is that's just the trader's journey. Is like you look at where you were at then, and then you look at where you're at now and how far you've progressed. It's just some people learn the easy way, some people learn the hard way. I learned the hard way by losing money and trying it all out and seeing that that's not actually how it works.
I mean, yeah, that's typically how the journey goes, right? You go, I guess, you try things out, but when things don't work, you got to change it. Most traders that come in, doesn't work out, they keep going, doing the same thing, burning more and more and more money, and I'm like, it's long term wise, it's not going to work. So, I mean, also, I always say if you stay in a game long enough, right, even if you don't make money, you just stay alive long enough, you start picking up small things here and there. The experience kicks in eventually, especially when you're doing it with good intent. You're paying attention, you're aware of what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? Like, for example, going back into like the journaling aspect, one thing that was key for me is I would journal in my pre-market notes. I would take a screenshot of the market, before it opened, and then I would take a screenshot of the market once it closed, and I would analyze what happened, right? I would go into it every single day for 200 and whatever days the market's open out of the year. I did that for 2-3 years straight, right? And like I have notes to prove this, right? So when people see me clicking buttons and he made X amount in 10 minutes, I'm like, it's not 10 minutes. That's 7 years of worth of work. That's 7 years of having intuition in the market and understanding of the market and understanding of myself. It wasn't just one. It's not a 5-minute trade. You see a 5-minute trade making 70K, but no, it's 7 years worth of work. It's the same thing when they see Floyd Mayweather. He has a boxing match for 30 minutes, and people are like, oh, look, in 30 minutes he made 100 million. I'm like, no, that's not 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes for him to shine. But he's worked years and years and years in the gym for hours and hours to have that 30-minute of opportunity to shine. So the same thing for us traders. We get that small window of opportunity, but the preparation is years and years of preparation that, you know, we have to be good at to execute those 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And that's the key in my opinion.
Yeah. One thing, you know, I just circling back to the indicators part, a lot of when I first started trading and I took off, you know, my indicator, or, you know, I took off my indicators, it felt like I didn't know what the market was going to do. Because I didn't start by learning, you know, how candlesticks, you know, move. Look, I didn't know what to look for.
Yeah.
But with, you know, RSI and MACD and just indicators in general, I feel like newer traders get trapped into that because it's like, you don't have to do the looking. They're already, you know, the indicators are telling you what it's going to do, right? So when I first took off those indicators, it was very intimidating. Just seeing blank chart, it's like it felt naked. I felt naked. I was like, I don't know what the market's about to do now. I don't know where it's going to go.
That's the thing is, like, you'll hear like experienced traders say like less is more with trade. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Because when there's too many parameters, like you'll never know when to enter or when to like keep holding or when to stop out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when I see any, you know, trader on social media or anything, I see their charts have a bunch of indicators, I immediately think, I'm like, this guy, like, I don't even want to look at what he has to say. It's bullshit. But really quickly, I don't want to forget this. I forgot it. But when you talked about having an edge, right? I remember Michael, he posted something, he mentioned you. He's like, your edge isn't it. People confuse edge, right? And this is
good point, by the way. I want to talk on that too.
Yeah, like people confuse edge a lot. It doesn't have to be something on the charts. It doesn't be that you see something that other people don't see. Like a lot, there's this new trend of like ICT traders, like, oh, I know what the market's gonna. You don't need to know what the market's gonna do next. It's very, very, you know, it's very personal having an edge. For you especially, you know, for what it, you know, I'll talk about my edge later, but for yours, what I see from my point of view is your edge is being just very, very patient. You're able to sit out, you know, not even, you know, a couple of hours. You're able to sit out a month, 2 months until that right setup comes, until you feel that you could take a trade properly according to your own system. So that's one thing I really wanted to flow or, you know, talk about is having that edge. It's not something technical. It's something more than, you know, just the charts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think every one of us has different, you know, natural abilities that, you know, we have or that are deep inside of us, and it's understanding how do we bring them out. Sometimes we need to know how to work around us. Like, I'm naturally not a patient person, right? You go back to me at 19, I was not patient, like at all. You go to me now, and like everything in my life, I've learned to become extremely patient. So it's something I've developed, or maybe something I've had, and it's just polished now. I don't know which one, but you need to find those things. And yes, I do agree. Sometimes your edge because there's different components, right? There's what's your edge from a mental point and what's your edge from the market. You need to have both, right? My edge, yes, I'm patient, right? I'm able to execute very well. I think I don't have as hesitation execution. Some days I do 100%, but overall I can execute very well, right? And then I think my edge is being able to read the market some days, not all the time. I wish all the time. And when I say read the market, right, I want to be very clear on that. I don't mean that I can look at the market and say, well, the market's going to go down. Read the market in terms of sometimes I can look at the market and say, right now, there's extreme level of selling happening and buyers are not stepping in, which is showing me weakness, which gives me the comfortability to take on a short position, right? I don't have to say SPY is going to go from 390 to 380 in one session. There's no way to really essentially predict that, right? Because there's so many components in the market and you can't predict all of those components. You don't know what the buyers around 385 are going to do. Are people going to start swooping in? Maybe an institution starts coming in and starts buying billions of you don't know these things. But what you can do is at that current moment as a you know intraday trader, at that current moment, how do I take advantage of this imbalance in price in simple terms, right? So it's like off trading terms, if we have iPhones and iPhone's market is $1,000 and I know he's selling an iPhone for 800, I'm like, oh, if he sells it for 800, I can sell it to you for 1,000. Boom, buy it for 800, sell it to you for 1,000. But I have to be able to read that and feel that out in the market. Sometimes I can read it, sometimes I can't. Now with iPhones, it's a lot easier than the market. The market's quicker, you know, the prices are a lot tighter, you're going with more size, so you're looking at a few cents to a few dollar ranges and being able to read that, and sometimes you read it and you're like, okay, I want to ride this down or ride this higher, you know, not trying to be, I know you're laughing, so I'm just pause, whatever, all right? And just get a feel of it before, you know, it does make that move. And a lot of times people go, oh, how'd you know that was going to go up or down? I was like, I have no idea it was going to do that.
It's because the RSI was overbought.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I had no idea. I saw an imbalance at a certain point. I saw weakness at a certain point, like a morning top reversal. I've been, and people are like, oh, like, where can I find this strategy? What book? I'm like, no, like everything I even call is, I don't want to say I made up a strategy, but it's like, what are my components? What is my playbook, right? What is, like, for me, a morning top may be different from you, maybe different from you,
I love some morning top.
I knew you were going to say that too, right? So it's understanding what those strategies mean and what's the criteria of those strategies. And I think combining that within, I guess, your trading and what other edge you have, like for me, execution, and okay, great. Everything just fell.
Earlier, we were talking about how when you come off of a loss, you go back to the classroom, you become a student to the game, right? So what does that look like for you? Is like going back to the class, what's that process look like for you?
So a lot of times when, and this kind of applies to me in every aspect, right? So even like TradeZella or the prop firm and other stuff that we'll maybe get into later, a lot of times my whole idea of looking at things is just kind of take the ego out and take the idea of that I know everything out, right? So especially when you've been doing something for a long period of time and you've had a certain amount of success, it's very easy to be like, I know everything. Or even if you have a 1 month level of success, you're like, I know what I'm doing, bro. He doesn't know what he's doing. Or he doesn't know what I'm doing. When I go back to the basics, I start looking around. I start looking at who's making money, who's not making money, what are they doing. I start looking at my past trades. I start reanalyzing the market from a different perspective. Like, oh, if I want to go long, no. Why would I go long? Why not go short? Like, I start flipping my perspective on things. That helps me see both sides. Then I start going into, jotting down different game plans for the market, and I go back to those game plans. So the summer of 2021, what I did entirely then was every day writing my game plan, going back to that game plan, spending a few hours looking at key market indication points, like in the open, right? When the market opened, let's go back to 3-4 sessions. What identified that there was a bounce? What did I see on the order flow? What did I see in the tape? Can that be repeatable? If I see that happen now my confidence is higher because I've seen it happen, right? So it's like if you see something happen continuously, now imagine it happens again. Imagine you see the market open, it dumps. As it dumps, you don't see an extreme amount of selling pressure. It's weak selling pressure. Maybe stops are getting taken out and you're able to read that. And you're like, okay, well, I see a day where stops are getting taken out. Let me get in on this action because we're going to see a quick move up, right? So when you start seeing those actions, you're kind of intentful on that. You start being more aware of that action. So for me, that's worked every single time, just going back, paying attention to each day, paying attention to the action. I like writing down things a lot and going back to it and just replaying it. And a lot of times when I do it, I always talk about you need to do deep work, right? Deep work is you taking your phone, you putting it away, and you locked in the market, no distractions. You go into flow for 3-4 hours, and that allows you to just kind of absorb in everything a lot more. And once you do that, like I said, you start seeing similarities in the market, and those similarities give you confidence, give you an edge, and give you the confidence to put on size. So that's how I go back to kind of being a student. I go back to the basics and just start looking at the things that I start overlooking. Because one thing that you guys probably have seen too with yourselves, the moment you make money for a little bit, you stop doing naturally you stop doing the things you did initially. Because, okay, it's working, boom. So it's like, why are you stopping the things you did initially to come here? Oh, you got comfortable. Or you think it's going to keep working and you start getting lazy because it's coming to you so easy. But I always say the things that you do today are a reflection of what you did in the past, if that makes sense. So if you worked hard a year ago and you start making money now, what you're making now is a reflection of a year ago. But if you start slacking today, that day will come soon too. So you need to look at it from that perspective. And that for me kind of shifted my perspective. But yeah, that's how I, I guess, go back to being a student. And I always say I'm a student in everything. I want to learn from you. And I always, even on Twitter, people younger than me or just getting into trading, I'm always like, hey, I want to know, what do you do? How do you do it? Be it in business, be it in trading, be it in whatever, because I think you can learn something from everyone in a different way of how to do things. I think we're all given a special God-given ability. Everyone has a different one or different ones. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to learn what are you good at and how do you utilize that? What are you good at and how to utilize it? Even if it's not trading related, anything at all. And my ideology of that is just I want to take from you. I want to be a sponge and learn. And that's where you have to drop the ego. I can't be like, oh, I'm older than you or I've been trading longer than you, so I know more. No. There's people that have been doing this for 2 years and are making so much money where in my 2 years, I didn't even make nothing. So just kind of, you know, destroying the ego and just being more calm and collected and being open-minded to listening and learning, I guess.
I was 11 when you started trading.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
damn.
insane.
Oh,
That's
damn.
crazy.
Wow, that is crazy. Wow, that's crazy.
That's wild.
I didn't mean to make you feel old, bro.
I mean, listen, I feel old. Like I said, I turned 28, and honestly, the past, I guess, 10 years, just so much. It's like so much happened, and it's like it went in the blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you? You know, trading wise, business wise, you have, you know, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but you're opening a trading floor.
oh, you just said it, bro. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
I said I was gonna tell him everything.
Yeah, no, you're good. So we've been, so in 2020, I was planning to open up a trading floor in California. We got a spot. We're looking at, you know, bringing about 10 traders, give them capital, manage them, and you know, trade. And then obviously the whole world shut down. So when the world shut down, it kind of shut down for some time. And I was like, you know, do I really want to do this right now? I was like, no, not right now. I don't want to make the commitment of being in one place. I kind of want to travel, move around, and I did that for the remaining 2 years. Now
Hot boy summer.
What happened?
Nothing. I said hot boy summer.
Hot boy summer, right? Now I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, you know what? I want to open up a trading floor, and my flight that I didn't initially mention in the beginning is I'm flying out to Dubai, right? I'm going to Dubai, and we are planning to open up a trading floor there. And the goal with that is to bring in, you know, good talent, good traders, give them capital, give them plays, give them playbooks, manage them, because I think there's a lot of good traders out there that just need people around them to manage them, right? Hey, listen, bro, you shouldn't have more risk today. Hey, listen, this is your play, this is the market. Like, you just need that kind of environment. And I think certain traders that are making 5K, 2K, 3K a day can immediately go to 20, 30K a day, right? So trying to build that, I guess, environment, culture within the company and just maximizing that from a trading aspect. That's something I've wanted to do for a really long time. And I think this is a year where hopefully by April, May, that should be up and running. And we're going to look for, you know, obviously great traders, not someone, hey, can I learn to trade with you? No, like, you know, we want to see a track record. We want to see someone that we can scale. We can help scale. So if you're making 100K a year, hey, maybe you do have the right skill sets that, you know, if we work with you, we can help you get to $1 million. And then obviously you make money, we make money, we do kind of a split, something along the lines of that. That's one thing we're ultimately working on.
Can I give some advice real quick?
Go ahead.
Ask them to send you a picture of their chart. You see RSI and MACD? Do me a favor. Fire. Don't even consider
Listen, that's it, right?
it. And tell them, when they ask, why didn't it, be like, watch the interview. That's all you got to tell them.
That's all you got to do, right?
Yeah. And, you know, with that, you know, I remember a while ago, I remember seeing it in your Instagram it was Ashraf Capital. I remember seeing the little LED sign for it. This time, make sure you have the domain secured, though.
I mean, listen, I don't even want to get into that. It's just shady business with people. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna cut that out.
I mean, no, keep it. I don't care. It's just shady business people that are friends. I don't even want to get into give the person any sort of whatever, right? But
hey, watching you, bitch, pipsqueak.
Yeah, but,
little guy.
But yeah, that's that, and then TradeZella. We're really trying to, you know, revolutionize, I guess, the journaling space. There's a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes with TradeZella that, you know, obviously I don't want to speak on yet, and just roll out. Even if you see like our monthly release note, we are pushing features and things out on a crazy level, right? And we're very early in the space. So some of the things we have and some of the things we've done in a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, where most competitors have been out for 2, 3, 4 years. They're developers themselves. I'm not a developer. We just have a really good team, in my opinion, and the really good team is he's like, yo, I'm leaving, bro. I'm out midway.
Did we just have our first walkout on the first podcast?
We had a walkout. I don't know
what happened.
happened.
That was my co-host.
I don't know what happened, but yeah. So that and
he had to cough.
Oh, he had to cough.
I heard it from all the way here. But one of the main features I'm super excited about, and it's coming out soon. It's the playbook feature, right?
I thought you were gonna say the other one. I was not.
No, I'm not. I wasn't gonna.
Okay.
No, I wasn't gonna tell him about dark mode.
It's funny. The playbook comes out tomorrow, right? This is probably gonna be out way after, I'm assuming, but it comes out tomorrow. So just to talk about the playbook, I think every trader needs to have a playbook, right? The idea of a playbook is like, what is your, opening drive play? What does the market need to do for it to consist of more opening drive play? So once you have that playbook, you can add, I guess, missed/logged trades, and whatever trades you missed or you logged, you can add that, and you can go back and replay that action just to learn from it, right? So that's kind of the main thing with that. And my whole goal with TradeZella is I just want traders to practice the right way to journal, reflect, analyze the trading. That's ultimately it, And yeah.
The way I always refer, like I'm a big basketball fan, right? So I'll always, try making analogies with basketball, and I always say trading's a sport, right? And you have to respect.
It is a sport.
Yeah, you have to respect the sport. And what do they have in every sport? They have playbooks,
of course,
right? You have to practice them. They go on to practice. They practice them. They log every single move that you break down individual players and see their strengths, and that's really what trading is. And it's crazy. It's taken this long for someone to come through. And the thing is, when most of these other trading journals, and I don't want to talk crap, but I will if I have to. What it comes down to for me is it's built by trader, right? You're probably one of probably my favorite traders. It's built by a trader that has been there, right? And not to dick eat, but you're probably one of the better traders out there. I consider you one of the best traders, right?
I appreciate that. But before you even say anything about, I guess, competitors, and I just want to leave it at this, and this is something I've established within our company culture recently. Journal with anyone. I'm not going to tell anyone journal with TradeZella. I'm not going to, if you want to use a pen and paper, do that. If you want to use Excel sheet, do that. If you want to use a competitor, do that. But journal. I don't care if you do it with TradeZella. I don't care who you do it with. I'm not in the mindset of I want to quote unquote destroy competitors. I appreciate them for bringing value into the trading community and offering a tool, be it it's good, be it it's not good. That's not my job to judge. That's people's jobs.
I'll judge it.
Right? You judge it all you want, right? I won't do that, but I will say, hey, listen, thank you for having a tool in the space for everyone, and that goes for every business, right? And I've kind of learned that from Tesla, right? So I went to Tesla. I got a Tesla a couple of weeks ago. It's such a cool car, by the way. I love that car, right? I got the car and I was telling the guy, I was like, hey, I was debating between this and a Porsche. And the guy goes, listen, we don't care. As long as you guys, are saving the planet, that's our main mission. And I was like, yo, like that, I kind of love that, right? The idea, they have a mission that's to make profitable traders. For us, it's to make profitable traders by journaling. For them, is to build a sustainable Earth, right? And they're like, we don't care if you go buy a Porsche. We don't care if you buy this. We don't care if you buy that. We just want you to go electric. And we're happy. We are the ones that kind of influenced it, which is what they did. So for me, I know I speak about journaling a lot. I know I've in the past 2 years is when TradeZella kind of came out. That's when journaling also started becoming a big thing. Before that, no one was talking about journaling. No one can show me from 2019, 2018 they were really talking about journaling. And I know that TradeZella influenced a lot of people and also maybe brought business to other competitors. Once again, I'm okay with that because as long as retail traders are stepping in and doing things the right way and it's impacting them, be it with us, be it with an Excel sheet, be it with the book and paper, us within our company culture, I'm like, we're good with that. We're happy with that.
That's in the company culture, right?
100.
That's the thing. I'm not part of the company.
We're big TradeZella advocates over here around these parts.
Speaking of, can I get one of those sweet zip ups you got right there?
I got you, bro.
Yeah, Emmett was supposed to get. He's supposed to give me one of the hoodies, and he hasn't.
Bro, you're never getting one, bro. If you're waiting on him, you're never getting one. And
dude, I went to New York like 3 times to get it from him.
You're not getting it, bro.
I mean, I have a hoodie for him too, and I forgot to bring it all 3 times.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Shout out to Emmett, by the way. I know he's gonna watch this. Emmett, I love you, bro. He's one of my good friends. No one in the trading space knows who he is, but he's my homie.
I mean, listen, behind the scenes, he's
no, people in the trading space know who he is. What do you mean?
No, I'm talking about like everyday traders.
Oh.
I think behind the scenes,
your favorite gurus know Emmett, and Emmett's their dad. Just to let you guys know. Name any name. Ask him about Emmett.
But yeah, I want to talk about journaling though. With that's like one of the main things for me. So I used to be the trader. Like I never journaled, right? That I didn't start journaling up until very recently. Like as recently as like late last year. So I used to be one of those traders. I used to go into a trade. I just knew that this is my entry and that's it, right? I didn't know like I have a stop loss here, or I'll trim here or anything like that. I just planned my entry and that was it. And to a certain point it works, but then it stops working,
Yeah.
and then you have to figure out like the workaround, right? So I started journaling recently, and when people ask me like all the time, like what made it like click for your trading or what changed everything, I always tell them the same thing as journaling, because that's how like you talked about how like you found out Mondays weren't your thing, right?
Yeah.
So you sized down on Mondays. For me, it was like I was really stubborn, right, with averaging down. I would just average down to nothingness, and just that would be like I would have small winning days, and then my red days would be massive. So I had to figure out why, and that's what made it click was journaling. But yeah, TradeZella pretty much just like changed my entire life, basically.
No, I love to hear that. That's the main thing we're trying to kind of achieve with the whole company, and that's it. It's more for me a passion project than anything, right? And even now, like money wise, like I've yet to see $1 from it, right? We're pouring everything back in. We're not hitting scale. Like there's just so much stuff. It's just something that I'm really passionate about. But besides that, overall, my whole thing is just, if you're doing stuff, build, have fun, enjoy everything you're doing day to day, and keep yourself busy with other projects. And yeah.
And I think that really circles all the way back to our first point, is detaching personal life from trading life. If you have passion projects and things you're doing outside of trading, it's just going to really help turn both of those.
I think over the past few years, from a social media aspect, I've learned to grow more private, where if you looked at me at 23, bro, at 23, 22, every day I'm out, I'm posting where I'm at. I'm posting what country I'm in. I'm posting what car I'm in. I'm posting what restaurant I'm in, right?
Like you'd even post when you got your Tesla.
Yeah, like you know what I mean?
And you got the big boy Tesla, not like my little Tesla. You got the big boy one.
So it's like, I think as time goes on, you learn what's private and what's not private, right? And I think for me initially, like social media is such a cool thing because you get to connect with so much new faces. But it's also bad because you kind of eliminate the mysterious aspect of you. You eliminate the privacy aspect of you, right? And I know it's very easy to post certain things of your life, right? Like, oh, I'm at this restaurant. Let me post the food, right? Or let me
meets first.
Yes, but it's like when you get older, like think about it, right? Think about the concept of it. It's so weird. I'm at a restaurant. Let me post my food. It's just as I got old, and I used to do this, by the way, 22, 23, I used to do it. As I got older, I'm like, okay.
Back in 07.
Right? Like, I'm like, yeah, back in 07, right? I'm like, yo, this is so weird. And then you start going deeper, because I think one thing with social media, and I'll be the first to admit it, and I think most people won't admit this, is I used to do certain things. I used to post certain things on social media, and I would get an internal gratification, whatever, I can't say the word.
Gratification.
I couldn't say the word. Immediately. Oh my God, I am on.
The hoe's gonna love this.
No, I'm like, I'm traveling here. Let me post it. Like, instead of enjoying the moment, instead of like, oh, let me not, have my phone out. Like, let me not post this. Let me not share this. And the crazy part is now at 28, 27, there's way more things I do in like my private life, like a lot more. Traveling wise, where I'm at, even things I buy, cars, watches and stuff. And 95% of it, I stopped posting, right? Where 25, I have a whole YouTube video that every day I'm like, I want to take off. And people are like, no, leave it up. Of me going picking up a car.
In flip-flops.
Yeah, it's content.
Lamborghini SV.
It's content, but when I think about it, I'm like, it's weird. Like, there's a level of it that's weird. Like, I got the car for myself. I didn't get it for social media. I didn't get it to showcase. But then there's this different side that I'm like, okay, well, when you show this to people, it motivates people, inspires people, uplifts people. But then at the same time, I'm like, not everyone needs to be that involved into your life.
Yeah, but at the same time, like when you're in the car, like I remember I sent you this video too. I was like rewatching it. Like you were sitting in the SV and you were just talking, like you just had a whole like towards the end, like 2-3 minute just motivational speech. Bro, I had like a bad red day and I watched that shit and I was like, I'm gonna get an SV next year.
So when you get that's like a dream car for most people, right?
Yeah.
When you get to that level and you get that dream car, like how do you keep yourself mentally going? Like after you've achieved, because me, like
collect all the infinity stones.
Like if I get like a dream car, I'm one of those people that might just get comfortable, right? Like I'm like, okay, like I got it. Let me dial back a little bit. How do you stay in your lane, like stay motivated to just keep going?
I mean, listen, so it depends, right? So if that's where you think your end point is, then that's fine. I think some people's end point is a few $1,000,000 a year, having a cool car, having a cool house. That's fine, and that's okay. But don't get to the end point and think you're the man, because you spend $500,000. Like, and I don't want to be arrogant and talk about money in that way. But you spend $500,000 on a car, cool. But there's a guy that just spent $500,000 to fuel his plane. Right, so mentally there's levels. So you can be there and say I'm good, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can't be like I'm the best. You're the best in your circle at that point, right? So it goes into what are you playing the game for, right? For me, I think at 24, 25, a lot of things changed for me, and I was trying to reach a certain net worth number and certain financial goal, and like I hit that around 25.
There was this one time you were in Miami, Mr. Ashraf, and you showed like a bunch of cars, and you were up like $5 million. You were like, this car is worth more than my entire year to date. There's levels to this.
Yeah, no. So that's what I was essentially saying before. Like, I think there's different levels. So if you're content with that, there's nothing wrong with wanting to push yourself more. But it's understanding, right? So for me, like I said, at 24, 25, a lot of things changed where I was like, if I'm gonna play a certain game, and essentially, entrepreneurship, if you want to call it, is a game, right? And it's not a game to chase money, but money keeps score, in my opinion. So if there is money on the line, the more money you make as a trader, essentially, the better you are. If let's say you make $10 million and I make $1, you're a better trader than I am, right? At the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to it. So I think wanting to push yourself, you have to change your space, you have to change your environment. If you have a Lambo and hypothetically all your friends have Hondas, right? Just
humble Hondas.
Just came to my mind. Nothing wrong with Hondas, by the way. And you, every time you hang out with them, you feel like you're the man. You're in the wrong crowd, right? That's what it comes down to. And then you have to start. You have to keep yourself grounded too. I always tell people, because like I just said, you spend $500,000 on a car. Woohoo, great. Someone just spent $500,000 on to fuel the jet, or fuel the yacht, whatever the case is. So there's different elements to levels of everything in life, right? And that's ultimately where you have to keep yourself humble and understand that there's a lot more out there. And the main thing you need to be in competition with, and that's what I do, is how do you push yourself to your limit? And I promise you, like, and I don't know where you guys have pushed yourself, but I can tell you guys right now, you guys have probably pushed yourself to your 10% limit. You know that. If you really sit down, and that's why at night when sometimes you're like, damn, I'm not happy with myself, is because you know you have more potential. And you're like, yo, I haven't pushed myself to that potential. But the idea is finding out what that potential is. How do you get there? Even me, I don't believe I pushed myself to that potential. I think I've had a lot of issues and things that I have to work with, and I am working on to push myself there. Just identifying, hey, what are my problems? What are my issues that I deal with? What are things or blockers in my life that don't allow me to push that barrier? Is it inconsistency? Is it discipline? Is it not knowing what I want to do? Is it not knowing how to scale? Is it not knowing certain skill sets? Then it's like, how do I figure it out? You look at a lot of great people that have achieved great things. They didn't get born into it, like Elon. Like some people say he was born rich, whatever. But whatever, he wasn't born a billionaire, right? Same thing with a lot of other great people, right? They weren't born at the status they're at. You go to Jay-Z. Guy grew up from the projects, 50 Cent. Right? They grew up from the projects. Look at them. You know what I mean? So it's like they're able to achieve it with the consistency and discipline, and then that goes back to the $500K car. Is that your prime? Right? So for me, when the car happened and everyone was like, oh my God, great car, I was like, this doesn't do anything for me. So even going into the car, like when I got the car, honestly, I drove it and I was like, okay, like this is cool, but like this doesn't bring me joy. And that's where like my whole kind of mindset shifted when I was 25, 26, where I was like, what actually brings me joy? And it was like building stuff, pushing myself to my potential, enjoying time with great people around me. Money's great, right? Money's a byproduct of great work or you being great at whatever craft you're in, right? Money will show up and come to the door. But what ultimately brings happiness? Yes, money makes things very easy, but it's like identifying that. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated, right? And for me, it was just building. Like that's where trades out. I love it. The trading floor. I love the idea of the trading floor. I love doing these things that keep me motivated, keep me challenged, keep me going to try to hit new and new levels.
I think another thing that happens with that as well is like, I don't think you got enough time to enjoy, like you always tell me, enjoy the process, right? And you tell this to everyone. I don't think you got enough time to enjoy the process because you had a bunch of, when you first started, working and stuff like that, you had a bunch of responsibilities. You had to pay for your own college. I don't even think you got a chance to like properly like enjoy the process and really like learn more about yourself and stuff. So I think like that's kind of like, where you're really figuring yourself out right now is just like, I don't care about cars. Like after a certain while, guys, like you'll make money.
No, listen, I still like cars. I care. Like I'll say, like I have like 5 cars on order. Like even today, like I'm just saying, like it's not. But I love cars. Like I think they're cool. But they're not the same level to me as they were when I was 23. Like 23, a car, like I'll tell you this, right? At 23, if I have a cool car, my confidence goes up because now if I walk into the door, I have a $500,000 car.
Valet's a SV.
No, look, no, I'm being serious. Now, bro, I go around my Tesla. I still have my Urus. I go around my Tesla sometimes. I don't give a shit what people think. Okay, like I like it. I like the car, right? So I don't like it. Like that. Like you stop attaching your worth to materialistic items, right? And at a young age, everyone does that, and which I understand. I'm not saying not to do that. Eventually, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah, you'll grow out of it eventually. Like it's like when I first started, making money. Whether it was when I was working 2 jobs or whatever, it's like when I started buying myself things, it's like when you always want something you don't have, right?
Of course.
So it's like once you get them, you're like, you're happy for like 5 seconds, 6 seconds, you're fucking back to square one. So that's another, just building. Like, what are you building now? Like you're just building TradeZella. You're talking about, the trading floor. Like you enjoy building stuff. What are you really building now outside of everything?
Oh, you're asking besides TradeZella and the trading floor? Besides with TradeZella, we have the trading floor. I'm starting another company this summer. Kind of don't want to speak on what the company is. Besides like company business wise, I told you about the school thing, right? We started that. I started on my birthday this year. I haven't really kind of announced it. I'm still kind of debating on if I want to announce it, right? Or if I want to kind of get the public involved. But that's another thing that brings me joy. Like, like I come from, like I was born in Pakistan, right? And because I was born there, I also look at things a lot differently, where I had the opportunity to come to America and I have the opportunity to wake up and do something with my life. And, in Pakistan, where I came from, I didn't come from like Lahore or Islamabad or Karachi, right? My parents lived in the village, like in Gujarat. Like that's like, I went back home a few times and I've seen it. It's like legit dirt poor, right? So when I look at that and look at like, not that my parents essentially grew up that way, but that was their surrounding, right? It puts things in perspective. When you do go back home there, you start realizing people are so grateful for things that we take for granted. So I'm like, yo, these people don't even have an opportunity. You have tons of opportunities. You have tons of opportunities. And you guys can probably admit to this too. There's so many times where you have opportunities and you get lazy. You maybe don't wake up. You maybe don't work hard enough. You take that same opportunity as a kid back home or someone in a third world country that doesn't have that. He will dominate that opportunity. But here you are, or I am, or you are, and we're taking it for granted because we have first world problems. We're mad about something stupid. Legitimately, that's what it is. We have first world problems. And they say 99% of problems you have, I have, you have, are first world problems. It's like 50 Cent was talking on an interview. He was saying depression is a luxury. And I know people got really mad at that. Like, no, depression is not a luxury, depression. And I'm like, a lot of people took that out of context because if you are living for survival in some places, you don't have time to be depressed. Because you're waking up and you're like, yo, I need to get to it. I need to find a way to put food on the table for myself, for my family. You don't have room for depression. We have room for depression because we can think. We're like, oh, well, I have this great opportunity and I'm going to be lazy. I'm depressed now because I'm not disciplined and motivated enough to push myself to my limit. So I am depressed because I'm not where I want to be, where I could have been because I didn't take advantage of the situation.
I think like with like in 2019, my doctor said I had depression or something. And then my first thing was like, right, like at that time I was so free. I had nothing to do and it was just boredom. It's like boredom. If you don't, boredom is the absence of opportunity.
Of course.
So it's like if you're just sitting there doing nothing and you're just sitting there with your thoughts, like you're going to have negative thoughts. You go out there, like I saw that same 50 Cent thing. I think I told that to my sister. I was like, depression is a luxury. And I'm like, it's, and I don't mean it in a bad way, obviously, like, people actually, deal with mental health or whatever. But in my opinion, it's just like, there's someone out there. And I always look at it like this way because it helps me, just keep my head in the right place. There's someone out there who, literally murder people to have the opportunity that I have, be able to wake up on a bed,
Yeah.
Like he said he's in the military. So I'm like, he comes over
in the military.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
He's a monster trader.
Oh,
he's
damn.
like dude, he had like when I was joking around saying I had a 1.1 million month, dude, he actually had $1 million month.
God bless.
Yeah. No, but I'll tell him, I'm like, yo, you want to sleep, like you want to sleep on this couch? Like if we don't have space at my house, and he'll be like, bro, I slept on concrete before. Like I'm fine here. And he tells me that every
Damn,
time. And
God
I'm
bless,
like,
bro.
yeah, fighting for the wrong country. You never saw that grip meme. I want to be pilot.
No, but bro, like that's so real though, because back in, like, I grew up there. So in Pakistan, I lived in Islamabad. So like I left there when I was 9, 10. There's kids my age, 9, 10 years old here that are facing like depression and, you know, things of that, like mental illness. When I lived there, that doesn't exist there. That's not a thing. Like there's no such thing as like if I went to my parents and I was like, I'm depressed, they would say you're stupid and you wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like that's just.
It's also, I think there's also a lot of problems with it, right? And once again, it's not to knock depression off or say it's not a real thing. It is a real thing. I understand people have real health problems and mental problems. But depression, like before you hit, I guess, a depressive state, look at what it is. Like, are you eating right? Are you sleeping? Right? Like when I was 21, bro, I was getting 2 hours of sleep, drinking Red Bull Monster all the time, waking up, like feeling terrible, barely eating, not going to the gym, not taking care of anything. Of course I'm going to feel down. Of course I'm going to feel bad. Like, take care of those things. Eat well. Get your 8 hours, 7 hours sleep, right? You know, get sunlight. Go to the gym. Start moving. Don't be in bed all day and wake up at 2 p.m. Like, you know, do something. Start finding a purpose. Start moving towards something. That itself will take a lot of kids that think they have depression and kind of solve it. And I'm not saying everyone, and I know some people do have it, and people take stuff out of context. So this is not, don't take this out of context, but it's working on those things. And then once you start working on those things, you start having essentially a purpose. You gravitate yourself towards a purpose. Like, what is your purpose here? What is your God-given ability that you can maximize on and you can really do? And what can you do with that purpose? And for me, like I said, I started hitting that at 23 to 25. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm in this country. I'm blessed. And, you know, where I came from in Pakistan is dirt poor. Like, it's a village. Like, it's a village.
Yeah,
like,
he wasn't as privileged as you, Key.
Yeah.
I'm from Islamabad.
No,
he said
I
wasn't knocking it down. I wasn't knocking it down. But I'm saying,
no, because my mom's from Murray, so like I
yeah, exactly. So
he said I was 9 years old. I could have told him, bro,
I'm just
9 year olds
I've
fighting
been in the
demons,
trenches,
bro.
bro.
I wasn't saying in a bad way. I'm saying Islamabad. I'm not saying it's the best, but there's a big difference of that and like when you go to a village in Pakistan, right? Like,
you ain't never seen shit.
right? So there's a big difference. So and I came here essentially when I was like 5, 6. So like I remember a little bit, but when I go back, things start clicking.
Yeah.
But once again, it's just, I have an opportunity to excel. Like, there's no way I can sit here and complain about half the stuff that, you know, people complain about. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. Like, at 23, I was like, oh, my God, I by 25, I want to be worth 25 million. Oh, my God, I'm so depressed. What? Bro, what? Like, no, like, and the reason I wanted to do that, I heard Drake 25 sitting on 25 million. And I'm like, when I'm 25, I want to be able to say that. So I'm like, oh, my God, I'm 23. I'm not there. Like, it's just stupid stuff.
Oh no!
Like I didn't get. I want this car. I didn't get this car. Oh my! Like just stupid stuff. And when you think about it, or something with your business failed, or you lose money in trading. Oh, I lost 10K. Okay, thank God I'm in a position to lose 10K. I lost $500,000. Thank you God I'm in a position to lose $500,000. Thank you God I have $500,000 to lose. Yes, it sucks, but I'm in a position to lose it. I have to have it to lose it, right? Mm-hmm. So things like that change perspective, and it just keeps you going. And then when you go in with purpose, it's like, okay, like what are you going towards? And like the school thing that I was saying is, my ultimate goal for a really long time was to build schools back in Pakistan, right? Like build schools. I'm not talking about building schools for 30 people. I mean, like I want to put 1 million kids through school and change the whole education system with so many kids there, give them opportunity, give them jobs that we don't have back home, right? And we just started working with someone on my birthday this year about that. And that's what I was essentially saying, where, you know, I face this thing of like, do I want to keep it private? Do I not want to keep it private? And it hits this aspect of like, okay, I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for people. Mm-hmm. But then when you go public with certain things, you raise awareness. You're able to get more people, inspire others, get people involved, raise money essentially if you want for the project. But the reason, once again, I think I don't want to make it public yet because I want to see it go through, see it happen, see it, you know, actually grow and blossom into something. And once it gets bigger and bigger, then kind of show like, hey, look at what we're doing, why we're doing it. Because even in trading, like we have no essential purpose in trading. We offer no real value to the world. Think about it. What value? And I admit this. I'm a trader and I've made tons of money from trading. We offer no value to the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And people told me that. They're like, hey, by the way, I was like, I know we don't. We click a bunch of buttons. We make money on a screen. No real value to the world.
I provide a lot. Just so you know, I provide liquidity to market makers.
Yeah, a lot, right? And a lot of other people probably watching too, right? Yeah. So it's like, how do you if you are successful in a space like that, how do you utilize it? For me, it's like, hey, for me, trading's a vehicle. Like, it's a vehicle of making money. That's why even the prop firm or trading floor, whatever it is I want to do is for that. It's a vehicle. I'm good at a certain skill set. How do I maximize it? How do I how do I get myself to make more money? If I am able to make more money, how do I pour that money into other projects and things that I'm passionate about, and to really make an impact in something that I'm passionate about that I think can benefit other people. And that also, from a selfish point, motivates me, right? So from a selfish point, me going and doing things that I'm motivated by or inspired by, essentially to schools or helping people, right? It motivates me because now when I feel lazy and I have off days, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a lazy and off day. Imagine all the kids that I'm impacting in a negative way by not being able to, perform at a high level. Because if I perform at a high level, I can help them.
Yeah.
And that's selfishly motivating me to do more.
Yeah. So, so basically what your main goal in life right now, from what I'm getting, is you want to put people in the matrix. You want to send them to school. No, but that's, that's a luxury, right? Like, people are like, oh, fuck school. It's like, bro, some places like in India and Pakistan.
It's actually a luxury, bro.
Yeah,
and that's where my context also changed, where like people would love to go to school back home. Like people would love it. You tell them like, oh my God, I would love to go to school. I would love to learn.
You could say when you say back home, you can look at me too. It used to be one country. I hope you know that, right?
Yeah, no, I do know.
He says back home looks like people.
No,
it's
the same thing. It's the same thing in India, bro. Like, I know, same thing in India. I have tons of friends from India, and by the way, love Indian people, bro. They're the nicest people on social media. It's like, I like all the time, hey sir, I'm from India. I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? How you doing? All the time, like the nicest people, by the way.
Oh yeah.
There's none of that. People have that beef. Pakistan.
Yeah,
India.
dude.
Like, bro,
I never understood that, because all my like homies, like, look, two of you guys both are from Pakistan, bro. There's one love out here.
Listen, bro, that's what you think. We ain't talking shit about you.
No, but like, there's this one time I remember I was little, and we have like a bigger house in India, right? And right next to us, it's a house built literally brick by brick, and there used to be like 5 kids that lived there, and they're both parents, right? And 2 parents, obviously. So I remember I was talking to the kid, and he was like, yo, one day I want to have a house as big as yours. And I'm sitting there, I'm 8 or 9 years old, and I'm like, stay in school. he's like, I don't even go to school, because they have a bunch of like,
they can't, bro.
They have goats, right? So they like take the goats and they like milk the goats and sell the, Yeah, so they like.
They're from the trenches.
Yeah, they're from the trenches, but like right next to them, like they're literally right next to my house. Like,
yeah, that's what it is for me back home too.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then now the last time I went back in 2019, bro, that same house hasn't changed. Still, bro, I knock on the door to see, I haven't seen my friends in so long. I knock on the door, bro. That same kid, he was 2 years younger than me, has 3 kids. And they all, like, all those 5 kids have 2-3 kids of their own, all living in that same house.
Bro, that's essentially what it is. So going into the school thing, and I'll just break it down. So a lot of third world countries like that, the problem they have is even the kids that can go to school, the parents won't send them to school, because them working for them or working at home is more necessary than them going to school. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, I can't send you to school because then we don't essentially have a worker and we need money, right? So the kids never have an opportunity, meaning their kids will never have an opportunity, meaning their kids. So it impacts a generation. But now it's like, if you could take these kids and you can, I don't want to say, when I also talk about school, I don't mean put them from pre-K to 12th grade and then college. Yeah. No, I mean, how do we immediately establish a skill set within them that allows them to have a higher earning power to, obviously make more money, and then be educated enough to understand certain things, read, write, have certain jobs. And that's what, we're essentially doing, because once again, like, there's a circle that these people are in that they can't ever get out of, no matter what they do.
Yeah, people talk about the matrix. That's the real matrix. And me and Emmett were talking about this a while ago. We were talking about video editors, right? Me and him were talking about it. And we're like, yo, you look at all these people on Fiverr, these Indians, these Pakistani people. Bro, they're charging like $10 for them.
But you know how much $10 is back home?
$800.
A lot.
I did the math.
Yeah, a lot.
Well, for me, my home, it's 80.
It's
80
like, it's over 1,000.
Yeah, it's over 1,000.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there and we're like, yo, these guys are dirt cheap. They have decent work, and you tell them like, yo, I need it in 2 hours. I'll give you an extra $3. Dude, they're on it.
It's done, bro.
Yeah, and the reason why is it's just because they don't have that luxury, right? It's like they need to work and they're willing to. That's why when a lot of people like, immigrants and stuff like to talk about, and, not to get too political, but when they talk about immigrants, like, bro, immigrants have like a way different, like, whenever I see traders whose parents are immigrants or they're immigrants themselves, they're always like, yo, bro, I'm working 2 jobs right now. Like someone today, he's like, yo, I'm working 2 jobs right now. I want to learn trading. I'm on my break right now from work and I'm watching webinars. I'm watching this. Can you tell me stuff I can do when I can review when I get back home? He was in Ireland and he's Indian. And it was 1 a.m. for him. And he's like, yo, I'm at work. I'm on my break. And that just really, like, it comes down to, he was in the car when I was on the phone with him.
It just happened. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he was like, yo, like, I'm working these jobs. And you just see the different type of fire from them, right? It's not, because those are the people that aren't going to half-ass shit. Those aren't the people that are going to sit there and be like, oh, fucking, I lost they're going to journal every day. They're going to show up every day. And, they're going to put food on the table one way or another, whether that's trading, whether that's work, and they're going to continue to improve themselves because their purpose, they didn't get to choose their purpose.
Yeah.
Their purpose was chosen for them, put food on the table. That's really what it is.
To higher limits, that's how I mentally always, once again, stay grounded, knowing what people go through, and then also knowing that there's actual levels to shit, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people say that, but they don't understand it, like, when you really go out there and you see the type of money that some people have or make, you start realizing, like, some of the money we see, like, people like, oh my God, you made $100,000 on a trade. I was like, yo, like, that sounds like a lot. There's people doing $1 million, $2 million a day. Right. You know what I mean? So it's just perspective, and I feel like you also mentally can't get too ahead of yourself, right? I think I said this in one video before. Whatever thing you make normal in your head comes to you naturally. Right, so it's like, how everyone talks about, oh my God, if you make $100K a year, that's so much money that, like, people make that a normal. So now that becomes harder to obtain. So once you hit it, you're like, oh my God, I'm on top of the mountain. Some people say $1 million. Some people say 10. Some people say 100. And I always say it takes the same amount of time to make 100 million as it does to make 10. Right. So someone that's made $100 million in a year, right, and someone made $1 million, they did it in the same time frame. Just different ways, different skill sets, different ideas of the industry they're in, different ways to use leverage. So it's like,
you mentioned this. You said, remember the reel? You were like, when you make your extreme normal.
I know.
Yeah,
white shirt. Yeah. I remember that. It was for Jalal's.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And that's what it is. It's what is your normal, right? And my crazy thing since I was like 17, my normal, like, and there's nothing wrong with some stuff. My normal was always like, it's in millions, right? Exactly. And every time before I even got to a certain number, I'm mentally already acting like I'm at that number. Right. So before I even hit my first million, right, I was like, I'm worth $1,000 an hour. Okay. So now I'm more decisive on what I do on my day to day. Right. Well, I'm really going to go do that. That's going to cost me $4,000. No, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to start moving like that now. Same thing now, where now the number's way higher. I'm like, no, that's not worth my time. Right. And some people take it from an arrogance point of view, and some people go, oh, well, whatever. I'm like, no, like, I'm trying to get to a certain point. It's not just money related, but it's also pushing myself to the highest level that I can possibly be at. And essentially, we don't have trophies in entrepreneurship. We don't have awards where we have award shows like, bro, good job, you made $44 million. No, right? The numbers are our awards. Essentially, that's what keeps score. So
it's one of those things.
Yourself, yeah.
You either take it as arrogance or like the people. It's a very niche, targeted thing. What you just said right there. Some people are gonna take it as arrogance. And there's going to be the select few people who are like, yo, he's right. I'm not going to go waste my time here. Like, if I'm worth $1,000 an hour, I need to be working. I need to be doing this. And some people go, oh, have fun. Enjoy the process. If you enjoy actually get better at what you want to do, like whether that's trading, business, whatever it is, if you want to get better at it, you're going to, you have to start moving, like you said, $1,000 an hour.
Or whatever it is, yeah.
Now it's probably like a little over, it's at least $100 an hour, right?
At least 100.
At least
lower, bro.
At least no, because I don't want to be like, oh, it's 100,000 an hour, like, because honestly I can't afford that right now. We've been going for 2 hours. I don't have 200.
Bro,
I got taxes in the month.
You're gonna get a bill, bro. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'm already there. I'm a billionaire now, right?
There you go.
Look at that, I'm moving different already.
But even that, like, I hear a lot of people on social media, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I'm like, it's good to manifest stuff. Like, that's cool, but like, you gotta be realistic, right? Get to 1 million first, then get to 10.
Yeah.
Then get to 100. And the game changes at every level, like, even for me, like I feel like I think if you took everything away from me trading wise and everything, and I wasn't able to trade or be anything near trading, I think I can go make $1 million a year very easy. I know I know it sounds very arrogant and it's like whatever, but it's like if you go to a billionaire and you take everything away from him, he'll go that same year and go make 50 million in a different industry, because you know so much about different industries of how different things work, and you can with that experience that you have and the skill set you have. And once again, take trading away. And a lot of people only take me as a trader, which is something I understand that's what I present, but there's a lot of different skill sets that I have and businesses that I'm going in that are not trading related, right? That are completely different. But once again, you take the trading aspect away, I can go make $1 million. I can go, like, personally, I feel like if you take trading out, I can go make $5-10 million in different spaces, right? Marketing, setting up different businesses, which is one business I'm setting up this summer, and that business is probably going to do, high 7, maybe almost 8 figures, and it has nothing to do with trading. But that comes from skill sets that you establish, right? And that is like, for me, trading is a vehicle, allowed me to make money, start multiple different businesses. As I started businesses, I learned, I hired great people. I paid people tons of money to learn what they do within their business. Like, I paid someone $24K to learn how this person runs a sales team. I paid someone else $30K for mentorship. Like, I paid, like, who's the best in the industry?
You don't got to tell them how much you paid me for the mentorship, bro.
I won't, bro. I'll keep it to myself. I'll keep it here, bro. So I go to people and I'm like, yeah, I want to learn. Like, you make 15 million a year, you make 20 million, you make 10 million a year, doing something in your industry that maybe doesn't correlate to trading. But how do I learn? How do I get your time? How do I get an hour? How do I get a day? There's this guy that I'm kind of subscribed to his newsletter. He sent an email the other day, and he's like, I'm taking one person in for a mentorship. And I've heard, once again, he obviously claims he makes X amount and whatnot, but putting everything aside of what he claims to make, I've heard from a lot of people that he does do like 80, 90 million a year, right? And he's like, hey, I'm doing a one-on-one mentorship. And he was charging $150,000 for it. And immediately I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. But right now, because I have so much going on, I was like, I don't think I have the time commitment mentally to do it. But I was like, it's not bad. And I told one of my friends, he's like, $150,000? That's so much money. I was like, yeah, it's so much money. But think about the marginal difference for me, where if I am able to pay someone that's making 80, 90 million a year in a complete different business, how he runs operations, how he saves money on taxes, because his tax rate, and for anyone that doesn't know, is Taylor Welch.
I love Taylor Welch.
Yeah.
I connected him and Emma together.
Oh, no way. I didn't know. Yeah. So he posted, and shout out to him. Great content on Twitter. I read his stuff that he sends a newsletter. And I always, give people their respect. Like, phenomenal guy, by the way. And I was like, yeah, I would do it, but I just don't have the time commitment right now. And then when I told one of my friends 150K, he's like, that's so much money. I was like, yo, you get access to someone that's making like 80, 90 or whatever it is a year for 150K?
Got to tell your homie, start moving different.
Like, come on.
The first thing I thought, 150K, that's a tax write-off for next year.
I mean, yeah, if you have a business, sure, why not? But yeah, so it's like, think about the knowledge you can obtain from someone and the years you can skip to get there. So it took him X amount of years. Let's say it took him 8 years. You obtain that knowledge 1 year with him, you save 8 years, and now you get to that end goal a lot quicker. And 150,000 is cheap, essentially, like the way I look at it, right? So it's things like that, being able to spend, and that's where, like, spending money in education, the right places, learning skill sets. So it's like people ask, what's the best investment? Like, people with $500 in their in their bank account. Should I buy Tesla? Should I buy SPY here? I'm like, oh, bro, I'm gonna be honest, $500 is not gonna do anything. Take the 500 and invest it in yourself. Go buy some books. Go buy some course. Go buy something that can give you a skill set and stick to it. Be it SEO, content management, writing content, blog articles, video editing, helping people with, podcasts, whatever, like something. Find an industry, make money, get good at it, make connections, scale it. That's it.
100%. Like today, I mentioned I bought an Instagram at Dartboard.
Okay.
A while ago, and I bought it for $500. Today, someone DM'd that account. They were like, yo, I'll pay you 1.5K for it. And it's like, just small. There's a million.
20% return.
Yeah, someone's like,
I'm not giving you that.
Exactly. there's a million ways to make $1 million. It's like, there's people out there I know who are making $100,000, $200,000 flipping ads.
But see, the thing is, I think when people start in their journey, whatever it is, marketing, social media, whatever they do, they try to go for the million. If you're brand new, try to make $1. Make 10, make 20, make 100, make 1,000. Build momentum, right? Same thing with trading. Don't go into trading saying, I want to go and I want to make $100,000 my first year. No. If I was to go into trading tomorrow, I'd take away all my knowledge of how to trade, whatever, but I just took simple advice. It would just be, year one, stay alive, focus on 3-4 setups, journal everything, have 2-3 solid playbooks, which go into my setups, right? Analyze the market every day, review the market, and my thing is I want to break even. I want to make $0. If I break even my year one, I'm happy. I've learned at no cost, right? I would rather take that route than to be like, I want to make 100,000 my first year, blow whatever money I have 6 times trying to chase this number. Also not learn because I'm trading recklessly. Now by year one, I have a stable, ground to now excel year 2, year 3, and so on.
It's all about fundamentals at that point. It's like putting up practice shots. Like I said, like analogy to basketball. It's like first time touching a basketball, you're gonna try going for like a 360 window.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not possible.
You can't. So it applies to every aspect of business, every aspect of trading, every aspect of your life. You take baby steps, and then you get strong enough to take bigger strides, bigger steps, stronger steps, and things like that. And eventually, next thing you know, you're at a level where you're like, holy shit, what is going on? But that's where constantly you got to push yourself. You also can't get comfortable. That's also like the biggest enemy, getting comfortable. At a certain point, you buy an SV and you get comfortable. You feel comfortable, boom, get out, go somewhere else. Like this summer, I was away in Europe. I was in Saint-Tropez, and I booked the flight last second, and I went there, and there's people spending $100K at tables. Not that I would ever spend that, but it puts things in context. People spending $100K at tables. People are in $200 million yachts, $100 million yachts, and things like that. Hotel rooms in some of the places, there's $3-4K a night, and it puts things in context for you where you're like, okay, like I thought I was a man. You know what I mean?
The reason I'm laughing, you wanna know how you're like you went there like, yo, they're spending $100K. Me and Emmett, the day we didn't know you went, right? Like me and Emmett were on the phone, and then me and him talk a lot, right? So me and him are on the phone, and I'm like, yo, Umar just posted that he's in Monaco or some shit because you posted like a yacht or something. He's like, man, bro, he's like, we think we're the shit. This guy just booked a flight to Monaco. He's on a yacht. And then he's sitting here, he's like, yo, they're spending $100K. It's so many levels. It's like, we're trying to get to your level. You're trying to get to someone else's level. And then it's just like, and those people are probably trying to get to someone else's level. So many levels. There's not one person. That's another thing, right? There's not one person in the world who's like, all right, Elon Musk, #1 richest person. There's people in Saudi Arabia who are richer than him. There's people
yeah, but I also think at that point, the context isn't money, right? I think the game changes away from money, and that's another thing I realized. I think after a certain point, it's like money is like after a certain number, money just becomes a tool that just gets you everything that's bigger. Like if you have a G Forward, you can maybe buy a G7. If you have a G7, you can maybe buy a Boeing. Like it's just things elevate. I think it comes down to what are you doing? Like Elon, I promise you, and people when they look at him, oh well, he was the #1 richest, now he's #7. I promise you, it does not bother him. He cares more about his mission. He cares more about things he wants to do for the planet. He cares more about his companies, Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, and all those things over, well, what am I seeing on Forbes today? Like, they don't care about that. That level, it's a lot different than, I guess, this level where everyone is in competition about money. It's like, hey, build a company, build a service, build something, and be so involved into it and making it the best. And that becomes something that, is your mission statement at that point, and then money's a byproduct, like I said before. Money shows up to the door, money comes in, and that's it. So essentially, I think at a certain level, people stop chasing levels, but it's also knowing that there's so much more out there. Like you should never stop at whatever you're at and be like, oh, well, I make 100K a year, I'm happy, or I make $1 million a year, I'm happy. Once again, if you're naturally happy, cool, but don't get caught up in the, I'm better than anyone else because I make this. Yes, you may be the best in your group. But when you kind of step out of that element and you go out of it, I promise you're kind of like a little pop in the bubble.
Yeah, no. Another thing, like, just talking about, what you're talking about. Like, I saw this one thing. It's like, if there's someone out there who's making, dude, Elon Musk, 80 billion, whatever, how many billion, how come you can't have 10% of that, How come you can't make 80, 90 million? Why can't you have 1% of that? There's so much money out there in the world, and a lot of people might take it the wrong way, but it's like, why not you? Like why can't you have 10% of what he has? It's not the. It's just it's infinite. Money's really fake. Like you think about it, like the Fed printed so many, billions or however much money they printed. They printed so much money. It's like out of thin air. Why can't you make money? Why are you looking at me like that, bro?
I agree with you. I'm just saying. I agree with you.
I was like, did I say some fuck shit?
Nah, you're good. I'm just saying. I agree with you on that. Yeah, everyone thinks like, oh, I should have 10% of that. I should have 20%. I'm like, why?
Manifest it.
I mean, yeah, manifestation.
Another thing
cool,
I
but-
hate about people is they're just like, oh, you need to manifest this, manifest. It's like, bro, manifestation doesn't
Bro, get up
work.
and go do the work, bro.
Exactly,
That's
bro.
it. Go do the work.
Writing it 10 times in your notebook's not gonna help.
Stop having a morning routine that makes you go through 2 million steps. Like, that's like when I was younger, I used to watch these YouTube videos at 18, 19. Billionaires' morning routines. This guy's morning routine, bro. I've spoken to people making 100 million, 200, like so many people. Bro, no one does that shit crap, bro. They'll wake up. It's like everyone has things that work for them, right? Some people would wake up, right? They'll shower, have a coffee, get to work. Some people wake up, meditate, go work. Some people would go to the gym, wake up. Like everyone has something different. Now
Go
you
to the
have,
gym, then wake up.
right? You have people that go and say, go wake up, write 5 things you're grateful for, then read 10 books, then read 10 pages of a book, then go take a cold shower, then go and sit in silence for 8 minutes. By the time you do all that, 2 hours are gone. You already used so much of your mental energy in the morning. Now you're tired. Like, oh my God. So it's like, if that works for you and you perform at a high level after doing that, then great. But most of the time, in my personal opinion, you don't need to do all those things.
Not gonna lie, I don't take cold shower. I'll take a warm shower. I remember you were like, sometimes I take a cold shower to prove to myself that I'm not a bitch. I was talking to him. We were talking about cold plunges the other day. I was like,
You should try that.
No, I was gonna get like one of those things because I see it everywhere. Like, you know, where you hop in. And he's like, bro, you do it for a day and not do it again. I'm like, you're probably right. I'm like, he's like, you don't even take cold showers. Like, nah. I'm like at the very end of my shower, I'll make it cold, you know, put myself under it for like, you know, a minute to prove to myself I'm not a bitch. And then it goes back to warm and then I hop out. Because, you know, I have to get back to room temperature.
Like, I got to get it back to that.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, just overall, like, you know, what it comes down to at the end of the day, life. I was going to start, I actually had something serious.
At the end of the day, what it comes down to.
At the end of the day,
you
it's the end
use
of the
this
day.
like line.
That's
like,
the line you
10
use
times.
when you're like,
She's
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to
At the
say.
end
I'm
of the day,
gonna
it's
Because
the
his
end-
dumbass isn't
like,
talking.
At the end of the day, it's the end of the day. And, you know, like,
At the end of the day, you know.
all right, I have a serious question though.
It's night.
So we were talking about habits, right? And like you being at the level that you're at and meeting other people at even higher levels. Obviously, there's things that work for certain people, but what's like maybe a thing or two like habits that you've noticed amongst yourself and other successful people that, you know, like that?
Good question. Number one, I think you have to be really curious, like really curious about everything you do. I don't know if it's people are born with it or people develop it, because I don't know if that's the thing, but it's like everything. Like, see, I'm sitting here, right? Like you guys have a cool podcast setup. I see this machine. I'm curious to see how it works. Like my mind just goes into things. Oh wow,
Right.
like is that recording with that? Like it's just everything. I go
Want
into
to see
certain
something
businesses.
cool it can do?
What? Yeah. See. Okay. So see now when I see podcasts, when I see that, I'm like, yo, how do they do that? How do they, like? So when I see certain, yeah. So I think, being curious. Number one, just being curious of everything. I think a lot of times I go in restaurants, I go in some people's businesses. I'm always curious about how things operate, how things work. When people do business, I'm curious to see how their operations work, and I think that helped me develop a lot of key skill sets outside of trading, even with trading itself, right? Then going into having resilience, right? Like TradeZeller, for example, when TradeZeller started, there was multiple times I wanted to quit because I'm not a developer. I have no tech background. I've never worked in tech. I've never done anything. So it's having that resilience. Third is when things go bad, right? Because things will go bad always. Even if your life is the best right now, you will have down moments. I don't care who you are. Everyone has down moments. You go to Elon in 2008. He had down moments where all his companies are going bankrupt. I think one of his kids died. He was going through a divorce. So many different things happen, right? So it's like, how do you deal with the down moments? How do you keep yourself aligned in the down moments? So I've seen that a common trait amongst a lot of really, really successful people. I think a lot of extremely successful people have discipline, right? They have direction. They know where they're going, and they kind of, not that they have an idea on how to get there, they kind of stay on that road, right? I don't think anyone really knows exactly where things are going to end up, but they kind of have a plan, an idea, and they attack it every single day. They show up every single day, no matter how they feel, how they don't feel. I think that's a big separation. Ultimately that, and you'll see a lot of it is not like, oh my God, this guy's super smart. Like I know this one guy, he's 70 years old about, and this guy is probably worth like $4 million. Right? This guy doesn't know how to write a check. Doesn't know how to write English. He's from Pakistan. He came here, never went to school, never went beyond third grade. He's maybe even worth more, but from what I know, at least 4 or 5 million. And if you go to that, someone that's an immigrant that comes, and I analyzed him when I was 18, I was like, yo, this guy is like worth $4 or $5 million easy, right? How is he able to do that? He operates a whole company. He has a construction business. He operates it. He makes a good 6 figures a year, and other stuff he does that I probably don't know about. And I'm like, this guy is doing all of these things. What does he have? And it's funny. And I used to read a lot of books at that time. Every night before he goes to sleep, he writes down things he needs to do for the next morning. So he wakes up at 6 a.m. every single day for 30 years straight, waking up at 6 a.m. He already knows what he has to do for the day. He has everything planned. He's ready to go, runs his company. Money comes in. He's on top of all his finances. He's moving money the right way. He's investing. When he goes through problems, okay, I'm in a problem. How do I solve it? Every time he looks at businesses, he looks at houses, he's always curious. Wow, this is, how much did this cost? How much did that happen? So he's self-learned a lot of things. So when you take that from someone that doesn't really have education or really has, any sort of basic skill set besides building everything on their own, you start realizing, wow, this guy has all these natural tendencies that they talk about in certain books. He has all of these skill sets that they talk about in that book. And if you have those and you're consistent enough and you show up every single day, basically, you will eventually make it. Just depends on what direction you're going in and what you're doing, right? And that goes into like one thing I always say: don't work hard, work smart. When you work smart, you'll get a lot further than just working hard. Work efficiently and effectively, right? And then it goes into like, what is efficiently and effectively, right? Like, for example, to get to $100 million, you can't get to $100 million without leverage. And when I say leverage, people only think leverage is money. Leverage is not just money, right? Leverage is people.
Holding people for
right?
ransom.
You can leverage people, right? Meaning you hire employees, right? You leverage capital. You leverage skill sets of people or machines or whatever you may have of a factory. You leverage scale. You scale whatever industry you're in. How can I scale this to a certain level? How can I reach a larger audience or a larger user base or a larger customer count, whatever it is in your industry? So it's ultimate. The idea comes down to leverage. How do I leverage something, right? And a lot of people usually think leverage is just money, but it's like, no, it's not just money. You can, if you have a team of 100 employees, you're leveraging 100 different people to do 100 different things that you can't or shouldn't do on your own. And there's a lot of business owners, well, I make $1,000 a day. I need to paint my door, which is going to cost $100, but I'm not going to hire someone to paint my door for $100 because I don't want to spend $100. I'm like, bro, you make $1,000 a day. Go make $1,000. Spend $100. You're still net positive $900 for the day, right? Like essentially, that's what it is. Like leverage. I see people that want to get to a certain point doing very low quality tasks. I'm like, yo, why don't you just hire a personal assistant? Why don't you hire someone to take care of these tasks, right? Like that you shouldn't be really focused on. Why don't you hire someone to make Instagram posts for you, for example, for people that run Instagram stuff that are trying to get to 100K a month or $1 million a month? They're like, no, like, why would I pay someone to do this when I can do it myself? I was like, yeah, well, like if you pay someone $15, $10, $20, whatever you pay in whatever area you're in, an hour, that's better for you than your hourly rate. Or your hourly rate may be 1,000, maybe 100. Even if it's 100, you still are net positive $80. And that's where ultimately I think leverage kicks in, and the leverage is the ultimate way to extreme wealth. But it's, once again, it's not just money; it's people, skill sets, right? So many different things. Yeah, let's wrap it up. We are at what, 2 a.m.
It's 2
It's
a.m.
crazy. I have a flight in like. I have
Yo,
to be at
can
the
you put the
airport
camera on me real quick?
I have a flight in 5 hours.
Okay, so I'm gonna say no, get up.
He's like,
Get up.
What?
Get up. Bro's like trying to like. All right. Make sure it's on me. Make sure it's on me. Bro, I'm not that fat, bro. Chill. Dude, the first time he's like, bro, you fit the whole frame. I'm like,
Oh
the
my
fuck
God.
is that supposed to be? Bro, he makes the most.
For some reason, before I met Shinobi, I told him this.
Yo, let's wait till the fucking cameras are shut off, bro.
Yeah, you're right.
Let me make the outro real quick, because I have to edit all this. So we take out all the... Bro, is that one recording? All right, stay there, because then you're going to shift it to Umar. Stop recording on this one. Hear me out, dude. Stop the fucking red button. Thank you. All right, over there. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. If you watched all the way to the end here, I'm going to be giving away 1 full year of a TradeZella membership.
Oh shit.
All right. Show it, Umar.
I promise, by the way, that was not planned.
That wasn't planned.
Yeah.
This is coming out of my own pocket because I make money trading. No, so no, I really appreciate everyone who watched to the end. Comment elephant. It would be really funny if
Why
there's
elephant?
because like imagine people are going through and they just see a bunch of elephants in the comments. They're gonna be like, "Yo, what's this?" And they're gonna watch to see where we said elephant. So if you guys watched all the way to the end, I appreciate you guys. Thanks to Umar for being our first guest here.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, you know most people. I don't know how we're gonna top this episode. All right, it might not ever be topped until we could do a part 2, which might have to be in Dubai because I will fly out there.
Listen, that'd be sick. Come out.
You think I'm lying, but I'll show up by your front
come
doorstep.
out. Well, come out by May. We'll have the trading floor, everything up and running, and we'll have a part 2.
Say less.
Do it.
Hopefully the podcast is bigger than by then, so we have leverage.
There you go. There you go.
No, but for real, appreciate you guys. Salute. What a dude! That was awesome.
We're never gonna top this.
No, the ending got really got